You're listening to M.T.V.B. Podcast. Movies, TV, video and board games. This show may contain swearing.
Welcome to a brand new episode of the M.T.V.B. podcast, the podcast that talks about my four favourite subjects. That's movies,
TV shows,
video games,
and board games.
I'm your host, Anthony, as well as most people know me as the Antman, and welcome. This week's episode is another movie episode. We're going to be talking about our top 5 rootin' Western movies of all times, and I'm joined around the table by the guys that love to talk about Western movies. Introduce yourselves around that table, please.
Hi guys, it's JK47.
This is H, the man with the 6-gun shooting list.
Hey,
Six-gun shooting? That's unfair. And it's me, Super Mario.
Mr. B. Welcome, guys. So, top 5 Western movies of all times. How was that list for you?
So much fun.
Yeah?
So much fun.
I thought it would be, but I more and more names kept coming to me, and I'm like, I can only pick 5, you know, so...
Well, I wasn't lying. I literally could have made 6 lists out of this.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I kept going down them. All this pink pen on my paper.
I can see. There's
like,
more lists than...
Yeah.
Well, more notes than what Howard normally brings, to be honest.
You have
like
to
a spider.
get into a fist fight for you.
Gunfight at high noon.
Yeah.
One of these days he's going to bring one of those fun facts. Do you remember them?
You're just going to hear it on the mics, isn't it?
Yes, used to love those. Yeah, I mean...
It's my fucking list.
Again, I'm not particularly fond of the genre itself, but I've done my best, and we'll see if you guys can say, yes, that was a Western or whatnot, because it'll be interesting to see what you guys think of mine. But let's go with the first question, and obviously you guys like the genre. What is it about it that fascinates you about it?
I grew up with Westerns. My father, one of the biggest Western nuts on the planet. Now, he would watch films starring John Wayne or by the director John Ford. Yeah. That was very much a Saturday afternoon thing for me and him. That's what we would do. We would sit down and watch a Western with probably
Same
John
here,
Wayne. It was all that I knew up until the point that I discovered science fiction.
Yeah.
And then that took over. But it sat at the back of my mind and was always there. And I look now as an older man looking back as a child, and I just think it very much influenced the things that I watch now, the things that I like. It's probably also why I like Indiana Jones, because it was a cowboy looking for all of this buried loot. This
it was the hat, it was the whip, he had the 6-shooter gun. Essentially he's a cowboy looking for treasure, isn't he? You know,
he is, and I think that was the gateway into that. But it's influenced a lot of my watching choice, definitely.
Yeah, same here. My mum and dad were big into country and Western and stuff, and they would, there were so many Westerns on TV at that time, so it was just all I ever seemed to do, but like Howard, was end up watching Westerns. I can't say anything bad about them, really. I love the genre. I love watching them. A bit like the Bond films, If a Western comes on, I'll sit and watch it. If it's one I haven't seen before, and even if it is one I've seen before, I'll probably still watch it anyway. So
yeah, my dad was big into John Wayne, like really big into John Wayne. So every weekend, like you said, there would be John Wayne. So if it wasn't a war film, it was a Western, or McClintock. So it was something along those lines with him in, and from that then evolved this Cowboys and Indians thing. And the first toy that I remember playing with was the little 6-shooters with the little...
I think we all had those,
You can't get them anymore. Like, cap guns are way gone, and, I understand why. Yeah. But way back then, I say way back then, it wasn't that long ago. But yeah, you used to be able to buy them in the shops. They used to come in the little packs with the little cap guns, and on the weekend,
the cap guns, I remember them.
It would look like an old Smith & Wesson, or, and you'd wander around the streets with your twin guns, and, your little rifle, cowboy hat, your jacket with the sheriff's badge.
Did you ever paint the red tip? So people thought it was a real gun?
Yeah.
Nope. But that was way back before, cosplay and
sure,
also kids' toys didn't have to not look like what they were supposed to be.
No.
And so you could just pick up like these guns and just they looked like guns, like Weston's guns. They were chrome silver, wooden handles or wooden looking handles. They looked really cool, and they were great fun to run around the streets chasing your mates with.
Yeah, too right.
Firing the cap guns and mainly firing them at cats because you didn't have wolves or bears or anything.
No.
And then that leads.
They used to have like water pistols like that as well, didn't they? Yeah.
No wolves and bears in Crawley.
No. Well, don't know
Plenty
about
of anyway. But yeah, no, it was good fun, really good fun. And then the westerns kind of drew on from that, like growing up and watching as the evolution of westerns as they move on. Like you go into the modern stuff, and it leads into Star Wars as well because we all know that Star Wars is based on like samurai westerns,
heavily influenced, isn't it?
The Japanese, Japanese style westerns, that kind of spaghetti western style. As
Well,
well.
I mean,
Magnificent Seven and all that.
yeah, absolutely. I talk about science fiction. Star Trek. Gene Roddenberry said that the reason that he sold it to the studio at the time is because he said it was like a wagon train into space, and that he had to sell it as a kind of Western exploratory sort of quest.
And you look at some of the evolution, like the sci-fi series from that, and like we say Star Wars, but Battlestar Galactica. It was a stage, wagons moving through the galaxy, and they'd then round up all their spaceships, and then out come the cowboys to shoot at the Indians who were the Cylons. You know, it's just such a evolutionary kind of.
One of the
role.
most recent that springs to mind is Firefly.
Yeah, Firefly definitely was
absolutely,
a space western.
Absolutely.
So that brilliant. Absolutely brilliant.
Cowboys versus the artists, formerly now known as Native Americans.
But even like Mandalorian, that's taken on that western. The music in the background is very much taken from that as well.
The character of the Mandalorian is going to influence a list.
I'm intrigued now.
Interesting.
The characterization of the Mandalorian. Yeah.
But it's this nostalgia now for me. I mean, I sit and watch a Western now. I remember sitting watching it with my dad, and exactly like you say, I remember having the cap guns and running out in the fields with my friends, all playing cowboys and Indians and stuff like that. It's all childhood memories. Yeah. That's why I think that's probably why I still love the genre even to today. But was it the Magnificent Seven based on a Japanese story?
Yeah, I believe it was.
Akira Kurosawa, wasn't it?
It was the Seven Samurai.
Based on the Seven
I didn't
Samurai.
know that.
Yeah.
You should have gone deep.
I didn't. I wasn't sure if I had it right or not, but based on Seven Samurai.
So when we mention Western films, automatically a lot of people would come into the older ones, like you mentioned, John Wayne and John Paul, all that sort of stuff. But do you like any ones that are sort of newer from like maybe 90s onwards at all?
Absolutely.
100%. Yeah. Anything if it's got cowboys in it.
Yeah.
Stagecoach or...
You don't feel like it's trying to copy like the old ones or something?
No. Well, it doesn't matter. To me, it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter because... What's good is when it starts out as if it's copying something that's come before, but finishes in a completely different fashion. Like, there are loads of directors that have taken the Western in a different direction. There are loads of actors that have taken it in a different direction. Like,
it's nice to see.
100%.
If it's done well, I mean, it's like if someone was to remake an older one. And it's like we've said before about remakes. You like the original, so it's like, are they going to do a good job? And sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. But it's nice to see the similar story and it go off on a different angle and they do it well. So,
but Westerns is one of those genres that, depending on which decade it's made, it will very much fit the tone of society at the time. I mean, now we get very dark, gritty, realistic Westerns, whereas back in the day of John Wayne, it was quite happy. The hero would always
vibe guy.
But also the bars were full of dancers. They weren't full of, you went into the bar, they would go upstairs for a sleep because it was a hotel.
That's right.
That's where if you watch the Westerns now, they've gone proper down that historical. No, this is accurate. Like she had syphilis and she takes him upstairs.
And now he does too.
And the piano player, or they make light of it in a few TV series where they kind of do the whole he hasn't bathed in months, but that may well have been the case. Because water wasn't that easy to get by, and whiskey was cheaper than water at that stage.
Exactly,
So I like the new modern takes. It does give it a grittier edge, but I also like the older kind of, like you say, that jaded view of it, where it is a nicer era to live in if you watch the 50s version than you watch the 90s version or the 2000s version.
Yeah.
Nice. So the Western genre, as we know it, is obviously, we mentioned earlier on that it's very repeats and very same all the time. But sometimes they do it differently and they mix it in with another genre. So say like comedy or horror or possibly sci-fi.
Yeah.
Do you still watch those ones as well?
Yeah.
Or
Yeah, there's one I never watched that I want to watch, and I'm not going to name it because it might be in someone's list. And it's
Debbie Does Dallas doesn't count.
No, it's not that. The Dallas Cowboys.
And also, one of those is a position, not a film.
And it's a film I've always wanted to watch, and I've never really got around to watching it. But I really must. I was doing a list today, and it came to me. It's not in my list, but it came to me. I thought, do you know what? I really am going to have to sit and bloody watch that because it's been years now, and I've just never got around to it.
You have to mention what it is at the
I
end.
will at the
If
end.
no one mentions it on
no
those
one's
things.
mentioned it, I will tell you.
Okay.
At the end.
Well, I can mention this because it's a TV show, and I've mentioned it before on one of the former podcasts.
Yeah.
But there was a program with Bruce Campbell in the 90s called The Adventures of Briscoe County Jr.
Yes.
Nice.
I watched it because A, it was Bruce Campbell.
Yes.
B, it was a Western.
Yep.
But C, I started watching this program and I suddenly realised that they'd spliced in a healthy dose of science fiction. And that was kind of the first example for me about that you can place anything in this era and it would still work. Yeah. Now there's video games and board games and
Red
novels.
Dead Redemption.
And anything.
So on and so forth.
You can put anything in this era and it would still work. I'd still watch it. I mean, steampunk, which is very much now. It took on a life.
It's got a Western.
It
tone
has,
to it,
It's sort of Victorian Western sort of feel to it. But that was kind of the birth, I think, of what we're very comfortable with the fact that Westerns can have anything injected into it and it makes it 1,000 times better.
I think what's great of that is, I talk about this a lot amongst you guys, but is the Taylorverse. So he has taken Yellowstone, which is a modern Western. It really is. It takes on like the original kind of idea of a Western, which is someone trying to move cows from one place to another, essentially a cowboy. And he takes that whole lifestyle and it shows it on screen, maybe a lot more grittier than it actually is, maybe a lot more fantasized than it actually is, but then the offshoots from that as well, as well as a great series that was on BBC for a little while, The English. That was absolutely brilliant, and
Never saw it,
that was really good. And that had like a Navajo, I think it was Navajo, he might have been another type of Indian, Native American, but like he would then take on he was helping this English woman who's seeking revenge, and they go across the American plains, and like the history kind of erupts out of that. That was really good. I think it's still on iPlayer as well. But then you've also got like 1883 and all
That's
of those.
the prequels, isn't it?
Yeah, the prequels are really good as well. And they all lend into that kind of, you get a modern edge, you get a later edge, but he's done something with Westerns which hasn't been done before, which is everyone goes back to the kind of 1800 sort of era, like the really early Westerns and the legends that surround it, Butch Cassidy and Billy the Kid and all that, and what he's actually done is ignored all the kind of legends and all of that and just gone, well, here's a town. Yeah, and it's just at the end of the First or Second World War, and here's what cowboys did then, and that kind of they still do, because I mean they're there today. They're stuck in that and
vast ranches in America, and the same families probably owned that land for like 200 years or whatever,
Definitely,
and they're still cowboys. They're just, instead of riding around on horses, they're riding around in trucks, but exactly the same principle.
With big bull horns.
The mechanical horse.
The mechanical horse.
Yeah, mechanical horse, yeah.
I kind of ask this next question all the time when it comes to genre, so I'm going to ask anyway. Going back to like the newer stuff, do you find that it's not being released as much? So, do you think the Western is a dying genre at all?
Not at all.
No, I don't think so.
No, I think we went through a period, and it would be the same with war films. It would be the same for the current plethora of superhero films. It peaks and it troughs. Yeah. Once upon a time, certain decades, it was all Westerns. But I think there's still a healthy amount of good Westerns being released.
Not film and TV, though, not just
both. Both. I think
definitely.
TV's kind of dominating the Western kind of thing at the moment, but I think the films are definitely going to come out of it. I'm waiting for that live action Marshall Bravestar. That's
any day, mate.
Little Fuzz and 50-50.
John's waiting for the live action Red Dead as well. It'll happen, mate. It'll happen.
Tell you, mate. Ooh.
But yeah, I definitely think it's going to have its days. It's like everything. There's a revolution coming for Westerns, and they're definitely going to come back in their droves.
Nice.
I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, I'm kind of out of questions on that then, guys. If no one wants to throw in a question, then we'll go straight to the top fives.
I can't think of anything. I think we've covered most of it.
All right, then let's do it.
It's time for a top five.
Right, as normal, Let's roll the dice. John, you can go first. You always get the copyright. Roll it again. 19. Come on.
Can't beat that.
I don't want to be first.
Two. Go on, Marek. Hellfire, come on.
Come on, baby.
No, copyright, do it again.
Damn it. Come on, Hellfire, man.
15. Right, you watch me get it now, for fuck's sake. No, John's going first. Are you ready for John?
Yeah,
right. So, obviously, as normal, if you don't mention your Western, then bollocks, you should have been on this episode, or get your own podcast. Number 5.
Number 5.
Go on in, John Whiff. Start.
My number 5 is a remake from an older film. It's a 2007 film. It's the 3:10 to Yuma.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
The one with Russell Crowe and Christian Bale.
Yep.
Okay.
The original was good. I just think, like we've just said, that you can take something and tweak it, and I think that's what they did with it. And it's to me, it's got a better edge to it, if you know what I mean. I like the story of it. Like I said, I'd seen the original, so I kind of had an idea. Basically, Christian Bale plays this. He's like a farmer on land, and he owes money to this rich guy in the town, and the rich guy in the town is fed up with him not paying his bills, so he sends a guy around, burns down his barn, scatters all the cattle, and so Christian Bale's out looking basically for his cows, and he runs into Russell Crowe robbing a stagecoach, and Russell Crowe can see that he's not any threat or anything, so he takes his horses and says, "I'll leave them for you down the road," and one thing leads to another, and in the end Christian Bale realises that he can make money out of this. So when he sees him in town, Russell Crowe gets captured, and his men disappear, and he's Christian Bale's put into like a part of a posse to take this guy to the next town to be put on the train, which is the 3:10 to Yuma. And he asks for some money to do that, and of course Russell Crowe's men come back, and there's big shootouts and stuff, and the money ends up going up, and in the end, I think it's like something like $1,000 or something to take this guy. And I just love. I mean, I think the original, good and all as it was of its time, and so they've taken like the modern version and they've made it more. It's more. I think it's grittier.
Yeah, it's definitely.
I love how Russell Crowe. He does play this kind of like 1 minute he's this menacing guy, and then the next minute he's like, oh, he's not so bad, you know. And then Christian Bale is trying to do everything he can to basically save his land and look after his kids and stuff. So
it's Christian Bale's desperation.
Oh yeah, he's desperate for money because he knows if he doesn't pay his bill to this rich guy, he's going to end up losing his farm and getting kicked off the land and stuff like that. So there's all this desperation, and the only way out is, which as much as he doesn't want to do it, the only way out is to basically take the money and be part of this escort to take Russell Crowe's character to the train. And it's like he's kind of like fighting with himself because he doesn't want to do it. He doesn't want to get involved in all of this. But I just thought it was a really, 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 really good film. It's a film I haven't seen in a long time. I haven't seen any of these in a long time. I've been trying to watch trailers for them. But it's a film I could quite. I've got it on my list at home, so I will watch it in the next few days. But it's a film I enjoyed. So
it's quite a recent one as well, isn't it?
2007
remake, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, it's a really good film. Like, it's a really good pace as well. Like, I mean, it's another one of those because westerns tend to go on for like 2 or more hours. This one's got that pace to it. It's quite nice.
Yeah, it trots along quite nicely.
Yeah, and then it just builds as well. It starts slow, like you say, like the whole setup, and then it rolls into like the western tropes as well as something.
Because it gets a bit, when the barn gets burnt down and the guy scatters the cattle, it kind of heightens up a little bit, and then it goes down where he takes, I think it's one of his sons with him to go off looking for the cattle, and so it goes down a little bit, and then it goes up a bit when he sees the robbery, and then it goes down a bit when he's looking for the horses, and then it goes up again when he gets into the town and he gets roped into trying to escort this guy. So it's got all these ups and downs. Quite a good story, and if you hadn't seen the original, I think you'd appreciate it. Maybe not saying more, but you're wanting to know, well, what's going to happen next? Is he going to get him to the train? Are Russell Crowe's men going to come and murder them all, or what? So Yes, it's quite.
It was also testament to Russell Crowe and Christian Bale's acting chops.
Yes,
definitely.
Because I think Christian Bale's an amazing actor.
Yeah, I like.
He always
seems to throw himself at anything. Really,
he's a bit of a character actor, but yeah, it was a very heavyweight film from that angle. Definitely.
Christian Bale will always be the choir boy to John Wayne.
yeah. He's been in quite a few things I've come up with lately, hasn't he? Funny enough. Yes.
Good pick, mate. I mean, I honestly haven't seen it, but I know I've heard good things about it.
Yeah,
so
the original is good, and this one is good.
It's also not your stereotypical Western in the fact that there's a whole white hat, black hat. There is,
Yeah, it tells a slightly different story.
Yeah, it's not there is a bad guy, but the bad guy isn't necessarily a corporeal person that you're hunting down. Like he's trying to get his life and his farm back together or his ranch back together, and then he finds an alternative method to do that, which I think.
And the West is a backdrop very much to the storyline, isn't
definitely.
it?
Yeah.
Nice. Anything more on that, sir?
No, not really. I was going to do the budget and everything for it, but I think. It doubled its money basically, so that's I think the budget was something like 30 odd million, and it made 70, so it done quite well in the cinema.
Nice.
But who was the director on it?
James Mangold, wasn't it?
It was.
Who did Logan?
I believe it was.
Yeah.
Yes, James Mangold. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And Dial of Destiny. Get in.
Sorry, the Dial of what?
Shut up, you.
Yeah, get out.
It's all about indie.
Yeah, so that's me done. So.
Nice. Howard, over to number 5. We've got 2 lists tonight, right?
2 lists tonight. Yes, expected 2 lists.
Business is normal.
Business is
the
booming.
equilibrium is restored. So I have 2 lists. So my standard list I am calling Heading West, and these are the westerns that I chose to watch. So I talked about the ones that I used to watch with my father as a child.
Sure.
These are the ones as growing older I chose to sit down. I chose to watch them. Yeah, these are the ones that
they're your choice.
They're my films.
Yeah.
The alternative list is Heading East.
Okay.
This is the Clint list, the Clint Eastwood.
Oh, the Clint Eastwood list. Okay.
So, and as discussed previously before, the production of several lists, it was very obvious that a large majority of this was probably going to end up being Clint Eastwood driven. So it was a natural split into a secondary list purely just for Clint Eastwood films. Yeah. So that's what I shall do. I shall start with the Clint list. We have at number 5 The Outlaw Josie Wales.
Oh, of course, yes. Good film.
A lot of the films that are going to appear on the Clint list are literally the same film.
Yeah, they are.
Now, he plays the same character, but I love Clint Eastwood. I think
is it actually the same character?
No.
Just the same. Right.
Might as well be. I mean,
Right.
back in the day, if you had a multiverse, he was that character in different
In
universes.
every cowboy film, he wears the same cowboy hat. He never has
the
he never has the raised sides. He has that flat brim, and it sits on his head, and it suits his face.
The boots that he wears in this film are the boots that he wore in what was his?
Did you say Rawhide?
Rawhide, yeah.
It is Rawhide, is it?
The boots that he wore in Rawhide, because he was very much like that. I think not like a character actor, he was the same character, but he would channel, I think, with certain pieces of garment that he wore. It's like the poncho that he used to wear.
That's right,
for a specific series of films.
Which we may come to later.
Which we may come to later. That was in order to get his character right. But, I mean, Josie Wales as a character himself, so it's literally post-Civil War. Yeah. He's just coming out of the war, trying to set himself up in what is essentially a normal life. A lot of guys came home from that war, and the American government gave them, for their service, for their duty, they gave them plots of land.
That's right,
They all got land in America, because America being a very, very, very vast country, they had it in droves. So he's gone home, he's set up life, he's married a woman, he's had kids, he's trying to forge a life for himself as a farmer. Some post-Civil War renegades have stormed by, burnt his house down, killed his family. Well, Josie Wales is now pissed.
Yes.
Yep.
He wants revenge. He finds himself a little posse, and he goes off out into the wilderness, and he goes in search of these renegades. Basically, it's a revenge story. Yeah. But it is the man with no name. Yeah. Just in any other guise. And it's for me, I started enjoying these films because it was quite gritty. We talk about the kind of happy, soft John Wayne-esque type films. Well, Clint wasn't about that.
Oh, no.
People died. People, were attacked. They got raped. It was horrible. There was disease. Nasty things were happening. And he was showing it in these films. These are in no particular order. I mean, you could all, like I say, be the one film. But yeah, Outlaw Josie Wales, I think it stands out for me. He was acting at the time with his then wife, Sondra Locke.
Right.
And for anybody who knows Clint Eastwood and Sondra Locke, they did a lot of films together.
Yeah, they did, yeah.
And what was, I think, fitting for me was that on screen their energy was palpable. And it really set the tone of the time, the relationship that they had together as well. It made the film for me. So Outlaw Josie
Nice.
Wales.
So what's the actual pick then?
The actual pick. Now, you guys could probably talk about this a lot more than me, because I've only ever seen this film once, but it made such a mark on me that I had to include it on the list, and that is The Hateful Eight.
Okay, nice.
Oh, yeah.
Hateful Eight. So,
I do like that film.
what shall I say about this for anybody who hasn't seen it? Because it's quite a recent film.
It's a different take on westerns.
Yeah, much different take on westerns. So this kind of slots into this alternative take that I've got sort of, it's intertwined through these lists. It's not your standard. It's not your daddy's western.
No.
It's not your granddaddy's western. It's not even your granddaddy's western.
No.
It's very, very. It's like guttural. It's a visceral type of take. Now, Quentin Tarantino, we all know what he's all about. We talked about him on a previous podcast when it was talked about in the director's one.
It's one of Mary's favourite directors, right?
He is one of Mary's
right up there.
I'm in fact.
He's one of my favourites.
I'm going to say very little, and I'm going to let these two guys talk about this film. The premise is quite simple. Kurt Russell doesn't run, and of course, in the course of not running, he is a bounty hunter now with his bounty. Which again is also an interesting take on the bounty within the Western. He has to hole up in this abode. Well, they step into this abode, and it's filled with these irregular characters, which is very much a Quentin Tarantino trope, but he does it very, very well in this respect. At first, there's no connection between any of them.
No.
All of a sudden, it's absolute carnage. The shite hits the fan, and then you suddenly realise that there's these little stories, these little relationships. There's deceit, there's intrigue, there's mistrust. It's a brilliant film, and I didn't think I was going to enjoy it to begin with, because I think I've previously mentioned I'm not Quentin Tarantino's biggest fan, so I thought, a western. What's he going to do with this? But it was balls to the wall. I enjoyed every second of it.
Yeah,
absolutely.
It's a slow burn, but it gripped you to watch.
It does.
I don't feel like, oh shit, I want to skip the next 5 minutes. Nothing.
Now, I love Kurt Russell, but you look at the character that Kurt Russell is playing, you just think, my God, actually, he's a bit of an asshole.
Yeah. But it's the first time that you ever see, like, he's played disgruntled before.
But not like this.
No, I mean, in The Soldier, he's kind of gets there, but then by the end of it, he's a redeemed character at the end of that. And even the Snake Plissken's, he tries to play dirty, gritty,
but he's still an anti-hero.
Yeah, but also in the Snake Plissken things, like, he tries to be the nasty bastard,
but he
can't, and he doesn't do it. He is Father Christmas from but in everything he plays, he's a lovable character. Overboard. Like, he's supposed to be the dickhead, but actually by the end of the film, you're like, no, he's going to win.
You want him to get Goldie Hawn?
Exactly that. And he has that whole appearance. And in this, you're right. This is not Kurt Russell like Kurt Russell. No. This is, I'm going to fuck you up, and you're going to take it. However I dish it out to you, I'll pistol whip you. With the
he's
shit.
quite menacing, isn't he?
He's not a nice person.
Towards the end, you're not rooting for him.
You feel like he's gone through a lot of shit, because he's always, he's always worried about something's going to happen. He's not going to do this unless he does this first, sort of thing. So I definitely see what you mean. Yeah.
What a cast, though. I mean, you had Kurt Russell, Samuel L. Jackson, Jennifer Jason Leigh, who puts in a really good performance, Tim Roth, Michael Madsen, Bruce Dern, and you've got all of these character actors from these Quentin Tarantino
Walter
films.
Goggins as well.
Walter Goggins.
He's amazing in this film.
Walter Goggins. And they've all appeared in different films as different characters, which we've all enjoyed and we've liked. But we've thrown them all into this one mix, and it
worked really well. I thought I liked the film so.
But I won't talk too much about it, because, like I say, it's quite recent, so I don't know for anybody that has seen it.
Yeah, I haven't seen all of this film.
Oh,
but that's what
I wonder why.
I can't think it can't have anything to do with the director in any way or form.
Of course not. No.
But the dialogue that I have been witness to, and also like you say, Kurt Russell holds it for me. Like, he is just you want to hate him.
And you do, and you hate yourself for hating him because
it's exactly that.
He has that effect, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Nice. Good pick. Nothing else on it then?
No. Go and watch this one, folks.
Definitely.
If you like westerns, it will totally change your aspect on it.
Nice. Over to Mario then, number 5.
So my number 5 also would have been on my top 5 soundtracks of all time.
Ooh.
And it is.
Well, we might go back and do a part 2 because Howard wasn't on that episode either. So
excellent. So this one has one of my favourite lines of all time, and it's William H. Bonney. You are not a god. Why don't you pull the trigger and find out? And it's Young Guns 2. Such a great film.
Blaze of Glory.
Blaze of Glory. That is my favourite, one of my favourite albums. And the name of the Young Guns 2, of course, was Young Guns 2, Blaze of Glory. Yeah. Emilio Estevez plays William H. Bonney, or Billy the Kid.
Billy the Kid.
For those who don't know,
tries to convince people that he's Billy the Kid. So at the very beginning of the film, you see this old man in a shop, and he's approached by a reporter. And the reporter asks him about the old days, and at that point the film then takes on where we left off from Young Guns 1, which is where he doesn't really have a posse anymore. Most of his guys have been shot up, they've escaped, and they're all out in the open. And we revisit some of like him escaping, and in this one he gets double-crossed by what he calls one of his best friends. And at the end of the film we just have this massive shootout, and somehow he escapes into the sunset. And it is just, I love this film because it is the start of these modern westerns. These, in my opinion, like where you've got a young cast, Christian Slater, Emilio Estevez, Lou Diamond Phillips, Kiefer Sutherland.
They were the young guns,
and they were the young guns at that time. Yeah. And it's just intense. It's fun. There's a whole scene where like they're in a brothel and the guys come to get him, and he's out there in his pants shooting at the people. And the big minigun at the end that just destroys the house. That destroys the house they're all in. But also like you begin to feel for these outlaws who haven't technically done anything wrong. They've just they've taken the law into their own hands a little bit. They were hired as bounty hunters to kind of hunt out, war criminals and so on and so forth, and then they go a little bit overboard, and at that point like they're all kind of hunting them down. But it's such a good film.
It's
such a good romp.
So Young Guns 2 was it?
Young Guns 2.
Nice.
The second one,
the first one I really like the first one as well, but the first one has a slow that is a real slow
sure absolutely
and then the second half of the first film, like when you work out what's going on with them, it leads into the second anyway in their purpose. But the second one is just a rip roar the whole way through, right up into it. And Emilio Estevez, he's so good, and in this he plays Billy the Kid so well. And Lou Diamond Phillips, who's
kind of like an arrogant prick in the first one, though, isn't he?
He's such an arrogant prick in the first one. And he tries to take control of everyone. He's like, I'm the boss. I'm the boss. But in the same way that Christian Slater's like, oh, this is my gang, and we're like, Emilio Estevez is like, it's my gang. Like, he almost revises the same character as he does in Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves in this, where he's like, no, I am the outlaw, and it's like, no, you're not. He's the outlaw. You just do his bidding. And it's great. It's kids being kids. It's kind of a brat.
Do you know Howard have a thing for Christian Slater? I mean, he appeared in another list recently, didn't he? So.
I like Christian Slater.
Are you like the underrated Christian Slater fans?
I used to hate him when I was younger because everybody fancied him, and I was like, I don't like him. No, for no other reason.
I could have him.
For no other reason that every girl like wanted Christian Slater, who was on their wall or everything, and there's just me going, there's nothing special. And then after watching a couple of these films, like, oh no,
I get it now.
He's got something, and he has like this roguish charm, and like when he goes back when you look at his back catalogue as well, like it gets better as he goes on. And Mr. Robot, like I think that's his prime. I don't think you get much better than that for him.
And you say about Christian Slater being in this film at the time with Young Guns and Young Guns 2, they were called the Brat Pack.
Absolutely.
You had Martin Sheen. Start again. We had Charlie Sheen, Emilio Estevez, Kiefer Sutherland, and
brothers. And they were brothers.
Absolutely brothers. Yeah, and they'd wrap them. It was what film companies were doing with westerns in the 50s and the 60s. They were taking all of these big names at the time, and they were just
putting them into
Yes, throwing them at the wall, and they were coming out with pretty damn good films. But so that was kind of the ethos behind it. It was get the young, good-looking guys at the time,
and get the musician of the time to do the soundtrack. Soundtrack,
what a soundtrack!
Is so good. And I remember listening to that on repeat over and over again, and like. It plays all the way through it, like the Bon Jovi stuff. It doesn't hide away. It doesn't hide it under some sort of, Western guitar. It's there in the background, and it comes in, and the Young Guns theme as well.
And how weird all the 80s music goes with the movie. It's a Western.
It's weird.
It's all like... It still goes with it.
And even the slow songs, Billy Get Your Gun and stuff. Or, Billy Get Your Gun isn't a slow song, but like all those songs, they just kind of, they fit with the film.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's so good.
It's so weird how it works.
But
what a good band to do the music as well.
It was, and he does the whole film as well. Like
You do the first one as well?
No, he didn't do the first one. He only did Blaze of Glory, and that was the name of the album as well. Was like Blaze of Glory. I
saw Bon Jovi live, and they played that. Oh,
it's so good. That little slide guitar with Richie Sambora.
So excellent.
So that's my number 5.
Nice.
Come on.
I hate going after Mario. I really do. Right, so my number 5, I'm going to go to the comedic side of Western movies. I've gone with 1986's The Three Amigos.
Yes! Nice. Steve Martin, Marty Short.
Funny enough, I'm watching Steve Martin on Netflix
Martin Short
at the moment.
and Chevy Chase.
Yes,
what a frigging trio that is, right?
Oh, so glad
I could watch them in anything. Doesn't matter whether it's Western or comedy or whatever.
This is one of the greatest,
funniest
send-ups of Western.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm so glad you guys approved of this.
Oh yeah, no.
100%.
But no, this is one I grew up watching as a kid, and to think that actually it does take place in the Western, because when you watch it as a kid, it's just a comedy movie at the end of the day. But when you actually think about it, it's a Western film. But if no one knows the movie, it's about the 3 guys we just mentioned. They're actual actors in the movie industry. They get fired because the movies aren't popular anymore, and a Mexican town is under. He's doing the dots. Is under pressure for a Mexican gangster, and they see one of the movies and they think they're real people. So they're like, "Oh, we'll hire them. We'll send them money and tell them to come and help us." And obviously, when they get the letter from the Mexican village, they're like, "Oh, it's a contract." And be like, "Oh, it sounds like a movie contract."
I was going to say they think it's
such a great scenario.
It's a bit when Martin Short goes, "So where are they going to get me from?" So
is it here or here? Yeah. But the bar scene when they finally get to Mexico and they get into the bar. And they're like, we'll order a beer. And he goes, "Oh, we have no beer, just tequila."
Oh, yeah, tequila.
That's it. And then obviously Martin Short goes, "Oh, what's tequila?" And then one of my favourite lines of the movie, the bartender goes, "It's like beer."
It's a light beer.
It's brilliant. And
can you remember what they sing in the bar, though?
My Little Buttercup.
My little buttercup.
Sweetest smile. But what else can I say? I mean, like, obviously they go to the town, they get raided, they finally figure out that it's not a movie. One of the girls gets kidnapped, and obviously they go on an adventure to go and rescue the girl, or the damsel in distress, if you whatnot. But all the other little things that we get to, like the great scene where they're all starving for water, and Chevy Chase is down in a bottle of water and everything, not offering it to anyone or anything.
They're literally spitting sand.
What's the musical bush?
The singing. No, the singing. It's the musical bush and the invisible swordsman.
Who Chevy Chase accidentally shoots. I just love it. He's like, how was I supposed to know he was there?
I think you shot him.
That's it. I mean, even the bad guy in this is quite funny. El Guapo. And I kid you not, right? I went to Magaluf, one of my first lads holidays ever, right? No, there's a Burger King there. I said, "Can I have a Whopper?" And she literally went, "El Guapo?" And I was like, "That's what there's 3 amigos."
So they're ordering it.
I like that when they're reading the letter from the village, and they go, "El Guapo? Are we going to go work with El Guapo?"
Yeah.
It says infamous. What does that mean? It means more than famous.
That's it. And so, doesn't he say like, 100,000 pesos. That's it.
Yeah.
But they don't see it as that, do they? They think it's like
dollars.
That's it, right?
They have dollars in their head.
I was just trying to remember all of their names. It was Neddy Niederlander, Lucky Day, and Dusty Bottom.
Dusty Bottom, that's it, yeah.
Oh, man. That's such a good film.
Directed by John Landis, who is famed from American Wealth in London and other comedies such as Animal House as well. It was just a great blend of the genre and took the comedy side of it. It just works. I don't know how it works, but it works damn well.
It's like we were saying earlier. Western the genre of Western, it lends itself to everything. That you can tag anything onto it, really.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's so many films out there that have got a Western edge to it. And then it's either a detective story or a horror film or a comedy or a romance film.
And it's how they make the situations they're in comedic. Yeah. Like there's a part where Steve Martin's chained up and he's got to get to the lever. And he's like, can I make it?
Yeah.
Can I make it? It's brilliant. It's just so good.
It's got one of my favourite scenes ever, where they're around a campfire and Martin Short is singing.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, all of these animals disappear out of nowhere.
They start singing with him.
But at the very end, they go, oh, good night, Dusty. Good night, Lucky. Good night, Ned. And then this little tortoise just goes, good night, Ned.
For no reason.
No reason. And then, as a kid, I just found this hilarious.
Absolutely.
And it's a great send up of Westerns, and it also covers all the format of Westerns, but it's a different one in that it's a Mexican, like they are dressed as Mexican folk heroes.
Yes, exactly. Yes.
This is where the village
mariachi outfits, isn't it?
This is why the village suddenly thinks that they're cowboy heroes because they're dressed, and they turn up in these outfits, the black with the spangy, and the mirrors and the diamantes, and all of that. It's just fantastic.
I mean, it's got so many great one-liners, like "you sons of a motherless goat." But I didn't realise that obviously Martin Short was famous for doing like Saturday Night Live and TV sketches, but this was his first movie, and then after that he got bigger with Inner Space and whatnot. But
they were all
he did a lot of stuff with Steve Martin eventually.
Yeah, but this is what I'm saying. So when they saw the lineup was Steve Martin, Chevy Chase, and then Martin Short, everyone was like, "Who is this guy?"
Yeah, exactly.
But good God, he's brilliant in this.
And I think that starts their lifelong friendship, doesn't it? Like Martin Short and Steve Martin, not just from Saturday Night Live, but like moving forward, this cements everything they do from that. Like, and
they still do the show on Disney Plus, don't they?
Only Murders in the Building.
I love Steve Martin. I think he's one of the funniest comedians in the world, and they have that show. Him and they call it as the greatest show you'll never remember, or something they call it, something like. And it is the funniest. I've watched it 3 times.
The one on is that the one on the comedy special on Netflix?
Yes, there's a new one on now, but it's just Steve Martin. I think it's in 2 or 3 parts. It's all about basically from when he was a kid up to how he is
Apple
now.
TV, isn't it?
That'll be quite funny watching that. But the other one with Martin Short was fucking hilarious. Absolutely hilarious.
It's really good. Really good.
If you like the Three Amigos, you should watch that.
I'll definitely give it a
go. You'll be dying of laughing within 10 minutes of watching it. It's so funny.
It's happening. It's added to the list.
They just bounce off each other so well.
But I'm so glad, like when John was talking about what Westerns could be, I hadn't put Three Amigos on my list.
No, I never thought of it.
Well, this is what I was like. That's why I put that question in about it's mixing genres and stuff. So I thought
when John started mentioning it, it was like, that's got to go on the honourable mention.
So I had a backup if you guys disagreed with that question. It's like, oh, thank God, it's staying on there.
I would, to be honest, I would have probably put it on my list. I just never thought of it.
No, I didn't.
You don't know.
It was only when you started talking about Westerns and what they could be that it jumped in my head. I was like, that would have been perfect. I'm so glad you got that in there.
I'm glad you approve. So that's my number 5. Let's go to John's number 4.
Number 4.
Go on in, John.
Right, my number 4, if I can find it, is... No, stop there.
I'm glad you remember it.
It's filing system.
It is How the West Was Won, 1962.
Take that off the list.
Such a git, you really are. It was Henry Hathaway, John Ford, George Marshall directed it. Came out. Funny enough, it was one of those that came out in England first. It came out here in 1962 and was released in America in February '63. So I think it was like 4 or 5 months of a gap, which is odd because normally they're American made and they get to see them first. But it was one of those films, huge cast. You had Henry Fonda, Lee J. Cobb, Gregory Peck, Carl Malden, James Stewart, John Wayne. The list went on. I just couldn't. I stopped writing, if you know what I mean. There's so many people in it. The film basically, it's a long film. You know.
When are they not?
I know. I mean, it's narrated by Spencer Tracy, and the whole film is narrated. There's 5 chapters to it, and most of it is the same family. And obviously, as they get older and they go through different things, it starts off with them. They're heading out west. They want a new life. They got like a wagon, and there's a mum and a dad and a couple of kids, and off they go. We're going to go west, and we're going to have a new life, and so on. And they bump into this guy. who's trading furs. So he's going in their direction, so he tags along with them. He falls in love with one of the daughters. They get attacked, and I think he kills the people that are attacking them to try and protect the family. And when they're running up, they get on like a sort of like a barge or something to go down this river to get away. And the mum and dad drown. So he feels he has to look after the kids, and because he kind of like falls in love with the one of the daughters anyway. And he's meant to be going to some big city or whatever to trade off his furs, because these guys are trying to steal the furs off him, which is why they attacked him in the first place. And he basically just they settle down, and the rest of the film is about them, and they grow up, and their sons grow up, and they do this and they do that, and the Civil War happens, and the gold rush, and lots of other things. And it's one of those films where, a bit like you're saying about Yellowstone and that.
Yeah.
It's a long film, and it's the same people run through it, and it's different aspects of their life. Like the first chapter is 1839. The second chapter is 1851. The third chapter is 1861 to 65 during the Civil War. The fourth chapter is 1868, and the fifth chapter is 1889. So it follows the family through it. It's quite gritty in places, goes down in others. There's lots of shootouts, lots of stabbings.
It covers a lot. It covers
so much.
It covers disease. It covers famine. It covers drought.
It was a film. I was going to put it in as number 5, to be fair, but when I actually thought about it afterwards, I thought it's got so much in it,
and it is exactly what it says on the tin, how the West was won. It's about people settling, how they established.
They're in a wagon, they're going out west, we're going to start a new life.
How individual families just established cities and towns, and where it started from.
Yep. And like I say, the gold rush, the Civil War, all the things that happened out that way over the span of about 50 years. You know, and like I said, the kids grow up. I think one of the sons goes off to the Civil War, comes back. I think he becomes a marshal in the local town eventually. I had to put it on the list because I've seen it. I think I've seen it once or twice, but not for a long time. But it's one of the names that stuck with me, and I thought, right, I'm going to have to put that on the list somewhere. I was looking for a trailer for it, and I couldn't find one.
And another ensemble cast. But it was
in them days, that's how they were. I mean, you like you say, anyone who was anyone at that time, big actors. And they all did, and most of them kind of did westerns, because in them days it was all
that's
westerns,
where the money
really.
was.
Exactly. 50s, 60s, 70s, that's where all the westerns,
like
nearly always westerns.
John, it was a snapshot in time.
Yeah, and I don't think it had been done before.
No, it hadn't.
Because like we say, because 310 to Yuma is, I think it's a 70s film.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing, but, you know, it's in the town, and the story's about him escorting this bank robber to the city, so the people can deal with him. But this was all about, but this is how the West was won. You know, people went off out, and
it was slow and
they
steady.
started there and worked their way through, and so that's kind of why I put it on my list. Really
nice. How long is the actual film? Like
I think
3
it's
hours.
about 3. I think it's one of those first films with about 3 hours.
It's
3 hours 10.
50 years.
Yeah, yeah. I think
And
it's
then some.
But long film, but worth a watch if you ever get a chance to watch it.
Nice,
especially with that cast in it.
I will add it to the list then.
Ooh, do.
And whenever I get 3 hours spare.
Yeah.
You put on Lord of the Rings.
Yay!
Anything else on it?
No, go on.
All right, so we'll go to Howard's East.
Heading east on the Clint list.
Okay.
Clint, right?
Clint.
Right, just checking.
How very dare you. So the next one up is this is kind of like an evolutionary step for the character of Clint, the man with no name. He started off in the outlaw Josie Wales, having all of his family murdered, and he went off on some sort of murderous rampage to get his revenge. Well, he has now ended up in a town in a film called High Plains Drifter.
Oh, yes, good film.
Very archetypal of its type. Now, all of these films are directed by Clint Eastwood himself.
Yes.
He took the he
did do a lot,
full on, and took the reins for the majority of these starring films that he ended up appearing in. What I like about High Plains Drifter, now the character doesn't have a name, but he's known as Stranger.
Yeah.
He rolls into this town, and basically they implore him to stay because they realise that he's got a bit of an attitude.
Yeah.
He can handle himself with a gun, and there are these three outlaws, these three bandits that are on their way to besiege the town. Yeah. Let's go through the list, shall we? Yeah, loot the houses, rape the women, all of the above. And he's like, yeah, do you know what? For a bit of cash, absolutely, I'll defend your town. Well, we get about halfway through the film and there's a bit of a twist because you suddenly realise that Clint's not actually the nice guy that he said he was. Now, it's an old enough film, I think I'll spoil it,
yeah, go for it.
He starts making demands of some of the people in the town. He's going, yeah, I'll do this for you, I'll stop this from happening, but I need something from you. And it's not a favour, he's asking them for some pretty bizarre, dark things, and he's saying, I need a pound of flesh for this. Right at the end of the film, you suddenly realise that he's there because he's avenging the old marshal that used to police the town. From memory, I think he was his deputy or he was his boy or something like that. I can't remember. But the marshal gets killed by these three outlaws that are returning to the town. Now, at the time, this town did nothing to stop this marshal being killed. He's there to avenge the death of this marshal.
Yeah. He
blames
the town for it.
He blames the town. Yeah. So he's there to kill the three outlaws, but he's also there to burn the town down. So basically, they pay for their past crime of not doing anything to save this man.
He does take his pound of flesh, doesn't he?
He takes his pound of flesh. And all of a sudden you realise Clint's not a nice guy.
No.
But you realise why he's doing it. And, this evolutionary step from Josie Wales into this bitter, old, twisted character who's in this town. He's like, do you know what? I don't give a shit about society. I don't give a shit about your town. I'm only here because I need to...
how they treated the...
I need to put bookends the story of my friend. And it was a great story. And you kind of walk away from it thinking, bloody hell.
You end up on his side.
You do end up on his side.
It's not a happy ending,
it's
either.
No, it's not.
But you want him to make them pay.
You do.
You want them
essentially
to be punished.
These are innocent people, you could look at it from two sides of the coin. You just think, well, what could they have done? But then in the flashbacks and various other bits and pieces, you suddenly realise, they could.
Your allegiance changes because, like, when you start, it's one of them films I found you watch it and they tell him why they want him to stay. So you think, oh yeah, go on, stay, help them out. And like you say, then you start realising, hang on a minute, they're not the nice people they are making themselves out to be. So now you're rooting for him.
You kind of feel guilty for it. You think, what is Clint? I want him to win, but I don't feel good about it.
The thing is, people go on about Clint Eastwood, but he does make a good film.
He does. He's very, very good at what he does. And that was his genre. And again, like many on the Clint list, he directed this, I think, out of a passion, really. He was looking at the films and the TV series of the 50s and the 60s, and he was going, do you know what? That's not how it really was. No. I'm going to tell you exactly how the West was. And this was one of those versions. But yeah,
the man in his 90s that still directs to this day as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's crazy, isn't it?
And still acting his chops off as well. If I was to recommend, I think nearly any on the Clint list, it would be High Plains Drifter because it's slightly different.
Yeah.
Yeah, really, really good film.
Nice.
He's a director that a lot of actors today like.
They
to
emulate.
work for.
Yeah,
weirdly, they do like him.
My introduction
he's got a very. It's like where other directors are very demanding and says, "No, that's not right. I need you to do it like this." They know from him that they do it, and he goes, "That'll do. That's a wrap. Let's move on."
Yeah.
And that's so they like working for him. So I think that's why his films are more.
Well, not just that genre. I think anything that he tends to pick up now,
Yeah.
he goes in it hammer and tong.
Yeah. He's able to portray his vision. And he's able to do it in such a way that they understand what he means, and they do it in literally one take.
You just got to look at like $1 Million Baby and El Camino, like not El Camino. What was the
Gran
Torino,
Cars, big American cars, and he does it in that as well. Like it's really serious and gritty and very kind of stylized of him as well. And he doesn't put himself in the limelight either. If you ever look at any of his directorial shots, he's never full frame on in his own shots. He's always off to one side. Or there's always someone else that's the target. Even if he's the main character or doing the main part.
He's a backseat driver sort of thing, isn't he?
Yeah, he tries to do that.
Backseat driver, but he's...
I was introduced. I was introduced to Clint Eastwood through the Monkey films. Any Which Way You Can, Any Which Way You Loose.
Right Turn, Clyde.
That's it. And I just love those films. But then from that comes like the cowboy stuff. I was never a big fan of his cowboy stuff, but I still watched Rawhide on a Saturday morning on Channel 4. And my dad first introduced me to The Singing Cowboy. which was Clint Eastwood.
Yes.
Who didn't sing but just mimed the whole way through it. So
someone else's voice.
Yeah.
But
nice. So what's on the west side then?
Heading west, we have the Magnificent Seven.
Of course.
Yes.
Which one?
The
original,
the 1960 version by John Sturgis.
Yes.
Now, John mentioned it earlier, and it is...
Nice one, John.
Yeah, thanks, John. It is a remake.
Did you know? But yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, shit.
Did you know that it's a remake of Akira Kurosawa's Seven Samurai from 1954? Thanks, John.
Damn, man.
Ruined.
I didn't know it was on your list, did I? Yeah.
No.
But anyway, yeah.
No.
Well, that was the only fact he had about the film as well.
Bit of fun.
Fuck it, yeah.
I know I had absolutely no idea about the existence of a film called The Seven Samurai. This was just a great ensemble western that I didn't originally watch with my father. And looking back, and I'm trying to crawl back over my memory. I think this was one of the very first DVDs that I bought. This and another one on the list. So this was my choice, and it was this really enjoyable film and very, very standard stuff. A village employ a group of gunslingers to save them from the evil El Guapo type character.
El Guapo.
And each gunslinger has a different attribute.
Yes.
This is the other thing as well.
Yes. So
is this the one that's got the guy from Westworld in it?
Yes.
Yul Brynner.
Yes.
Yul Brynner, that's it.
Did you know?
The Man in Black.
He's the Man in Black, and the character, the characterization of the robot that he plays in Westworld is the character of Chris from this film. He's
I was about to ask which was first.
So
Magnificent Seven was the first one. Right.
Yeah, basically, it's like if you would in Westworld, they've modelled the gunslinger that Yul Brynner plays on Chris from the Magnificent Seven.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's a nice little touch there. Westworld, which, as we all know, is a very good, excellent film. So again, we talk about characterization actors from the time. You've got Yul Brynner, Eli Wallach,
of course,
Steve McQueen, very big actor, a German actor called Horst Buchholz, who did a lot at the time. He was quite young in this film. Charles Bronson, who we all know, Robert Vaughn, one of the men from Uncle, and James Coburn, who big in the 60s. I just think it's an enjoyable film, and it's quite light and airy fairy in places, and I think it comes from, like Mario said, the individual characters in the film all have their own thing, and you follow each one. They give them their time in the sun.
It's a grown-up Goonies in a sense. You have your character that you identify with. Like, I always wanted to identify with Data, but what I actually identified with was his older brother from Goonies. But in this, it's the same sort of thing. Each one has one's a knife man, one's good with horses, one's a gunslinger, one's good with people. Each of them have a different attribute that kind of helps to the end result, and you all find yourself gravitating towards one of them.
You do, and it very much cemented that archetype for future films, not necessarily just westerns, but if you take anything, let's take the Expendables. Right? Take the Expendables. What does each character have? A different attribute, a different skill set. They're a different type of personality as well. And for me, it all comes from the Magnificent Seven. I think
it's just a reworked Magnificent Seven, really, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, a reworked Seven Samurai.
I was going to go but
no. Other interesting facts about this film. So I think I mentioned before about John Williams as a composer. Now we talked about each one having their own signature, and I mentioned at the time the fact that John Williams, if you listen to a lot of his music, his scores, it sounds like he's taken inspiration from Elmer Bernstein. Now Elmer Bernstein did the score for this film. Did a lot of westerns, a lot of movie films. I believe it was because he did The Great Escape. Well, John Williams was playing piano in a lot of the pieces within this film, and that's the reason why his big inspiration is Elmer Bernstein.
Oh, wow!
So if you ever go and you listen to Indiana Jones or something with a military march in it, it comes from this composer. And I like Elmer Bernstein because I think without him you wouldn't have a lot of movie scores that you had today.
Sure.
But yeah, the Magnificent Seven. I think just go and watch it if you haven't seen it, because
the original one, obviously.
It's a very simple
the new one.
story.
The newest one's not bad.
Yeah, the new one is good.
Yeah, if you don't feel like watching something, with the same spirit and the same kind of camaraderie, everything in it like the original, then the new one is definitely there.
The new one has Chris Pratt in it, doesn't it?
It does have Chris Pratt in it, and he doesn't hold the horses up with his hands like he does raptors, or trains. But no, he plays the cocky kind of anti-hero in that really well. I think the new version is easier to watch than the original, but simply because the original is aged and dated in the way it was made. As where if you watch the newer one, then watch it, I think you'll appreciate it.
Sure.
Actually, I think you've got a point there, because depending on, if you're a youngish person, watch the new one first, because it'll ease you into the old one. If you're an older person listening, you've probably already seen it.
You would have.
If you haven't,
I put it in the same vein as Ocean's 11. I watched the original first. I really liked the original for what it was, which was, it was. I
think it was a good film for its time,
and it was, but it was advertising for all those crooners. Like, Dean Martin gets a little bit on the piano at some stage, and Sammy Davis Jr. gets to do a little bit, and Frank gets to do a bit. And then when you bring it to the limelight of the newer version, you've got all the same characters, and it's much easier to take. Yeah. But then you go back and watch the original, and you kind of appreciate it for what it is. And I think that's a good way of doing this as well. If you don't feel that you're going to watch the older one and appreciate it, watch the newer one, then watch the older one. You'll definitely appreciate it.
You'll get it then,
The older one's got a lot of heart. I mean, there's a scene where Horst Buchholz, as the younger member of the group, he gets into a spot of trouble, and you're really feeling for him, and it brings a tear to your eye. But I think it's one of the only. I talk about gritty westerns. That's really my thing. This is one of the only films on this list where you know how it's going to end.
Yeah.
Exactly how it's going to end, and they're all going to ride off into the sunset, and there's going to be a sequel, and there's going to be another sequel, and another sequel. A lot of money to be made from this. But an enjoyable western that I think is accessible for all. It's one of those family ones where you can just sit down.
Yes,
it's a good. It's
the Avengers of westerns.
It's the Avengers of westerns. It is. Yeah. There's the big bad Thanos.
Nice. Anything else on that?
No, I don't think so.
All right, so over to Mario then.
So I've gone light-hearted again. It gets seriouser from this point
But Young
forward.
Guns 2's light-hearted?
I think so. I think out of all of them it is, but this one's even more light-hearted.
All right, okay.
So I remember watching the making of this on a Sunday afternoon on ITV, and it had one of the most unlikely lead actors as a cowboy. And the only reason he did the film was because he put on his resume that he could do horse work, and he wanted to prove that he could do horsework. And it's Tom Selleck in Quigley Down Under.
Okay.
And it's such a great film. So Quigley is a sharpshooter, a rifleman in the Wild West. He gets hired by some Australians to go out to their ranch and protect their ranch. Yeah. But he's duped into it, because when he gets out there, what he's actually trying to hunt is Aborigines who are trying to actually kind of get their land back from the guy that's stolen it to raise his cattle and sheep on. Yeah. Quigley then says, well, I'm not going to do that because, that's wrong. Yeah. And the owner tries then to kill Matt Quigley, and he decides that he's not going to have that. So after the attempt on his life, he runs away with a captured maiden that was on the estate, goes off, joins the Aborigines who teach him the ways of the bush and stuff. And he comes back and kills everyone.
Yep. Wow!
In a non-Tom Selleck
Australian
way.
Western.
It is an Australian Western, and it's Tom Selleck playing a cowboy really well.
Tom Selleck was going to be the original Indy, wasn't he?
He was going to be the original Indy, and this is also another reason why he did Quigley as well. Believe it or not, he even says that in the thing, like because he got looked over, he wanted to prove all these skills that he had. He wanted to put them into some use, and this is the only time I think that he's ever done a Western.
Yeah, wow. And he done a very, very good job of it.
And it's really
and it makes you kind of wonder, do you know what?
If he'd been Indiana Jones.
If he had been Indy, what the hell,
The thing is, I can't see Magnum P.I. as Indiana Jones.
No.
But after watching Quigley, you can see it.
I remember watching the screen test on the DVD of him as Indy. It looked really good. I thought, I don't know how he didn't get the part, but hey.
But I really like this film because Tom Selleck is an easy actor to watch. Magnum P.I. and that, he's almost effortless. Yeah. He's got this charm about him, and in Blue Bloods and stuff like that he's done later on in life, he's still likeable even when he's being a dick. And even in Friends and stuff like that, he was still likeable, and he has this whole appeal to him. And in Quigley, there's a bit where like he is in true hero fashion, beaten to shit and kind of left for dead, and then revives himself, or the natives from Australia, they bring him back to life in the only way that they can, through rituals of song and dance, and kind of medicines of the bush. And he comes back, and he becomes a nasty bastard and takes out all the bad guys with this really cool gun that he's created with a weird mechanical sight on it that's very steampunk reminiscent as well. And he's really good, and he does all the horse stunts on it in the film himself.
Takes a lot of the shots are like long shots, like a half a mile away.
Him just galloping along.
Isn't there a scene where one of these guys, he's running away?
Yeah.
And they're going, hurry up, quick, you're going to shoot me. He goes, no, that's all right. And he's
adjusting the sight.
And this guy's getting further and further away. And in the end, he just goes... And literally, like I said, the guy's literally about to run over the hill about half a mile away, and you just see him fall down dead where he's hit him and think,
and it's unbelievable, but also fun. It's like
it is a good film.
Tom Selleck as a cowboy. Why couldn't it make
like you say?
It has to be.
I never knew he did a Western, so I'm quite surprised, but I've never heard of this movie.
So the reason he didn't get Indy, he was the choice.
He was the choice.
They only went with Harrison Ford because the story goes that the studio that was producing Magnum PI at the time said, we're not going to release you to do a film whilst you're Magnum, because we need you for Magnum. This week, I literally watched a video where he's been on American breakfast TV, and he said it was a miscommunication. He could have done Indiana Jones whilst he was Magnum. So, mate, you say what
gut
would we have got?
wrenching.
Yeah, it could have happened.
What would it have been like? Do you know what I mean?
No, would it have been good?
I still think he would have.
Looking at Quigley, I kind of think he would have done a very good job of it. So
he's virtually Indiana Jones in that, just in a weird cowboy hat, because he has that big kind of the rounded top hat-y kind of looking cowboy hat. He looks like an awkward cowboy at first, with the blue denim jacket and the
it's a good watch,
red scarf.
Outback cowboy.
Yeah, and he has like massive chaps on, like massive.
Really?
Yeah. Do you remember the scene from Guys Like Us? Dan Aykroyd film, Spies Like Us.
Yes,
They infiltrate the old, and they got the big old spats on when they.
Yes.
He looks like he's wearing those sort of chaps in the film, and it's really, but he is really good in this, and the film itself is really enjoyable to watch. Like, it's nothing really kind of. I mean, there is a bit of heart in it, but actually, to be honest, it's just an easy watch.
Right.
It's fun from start to finish. Even where it's kind of supposed to be getting gritty, like you're rooting for the hero from start to finish, and you rooting for Australia as well. This is the other thing as well. Like they play it that these guys have just come and stolen from these people, which was, back in, what was it, 80s? I think this is when this was made. That was unknown or unthought of at that time. It took Crocodile Dundee of all things to actually kind of bring that to the limelight, that these people exist and they are magical and they do have a place in the world. And he does that in this film as well, and it's really good. So
Quigley
so
before
good.
Crocodile.
Quigley was after, wasn't it? Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
so it's probably off the back of Crocodile Dundee that this sort of film was being able to be made.
But it is a good film.
It is a really good film. So good.
Quigley Down Under.
Quigley Down Under. And it's the only one as well. There should have been a sequel. It's such a great film.
Or at least a TV series.
Yeah, at least the TV, Magnum Quigley.
Yeah.
Or, Magnum Cowboy or something. But
Quick PI.
Quick PI. But it's really good watch, really easy watch, and Tom Selleck as a cowboy.
Yeah.
More could you ask for? Anything else on Quigley?
I'm good.
I love it. I'm good.
Let's move on quickly.
Nice. Right, my number 4 then is kind of a clash from Mario.
Okay.
Is it Young Guns?
It's not Quigley, but it's Young Guns 1.
Oh, okay.
Reason I picked this again, very much like Three Amigos, was one that I grew up with watching. It used to be on ITV or BBC One all the time, didn't it? But the premise of the story is pretty much what Mario said, where a group of young guys are being groomed by Terence Stamp.
Another good actor,
another good actor, because they're all outlaws in their previous life, and he tries to groom them to be better people.
Squad, basically,
Terrence Stamp gets shot by or killed by Jack Palance, who's the mayor or who's the lead gangster in this. I can't remember.
He's the guy who
runs a town, doesn't he?
He runs.
He's not the mayor. He's like the
He's just
land
in charge.
holder,
Yeah, that's it. Yeah,
he owns all the land. He employs everyone on the land. Yeah. Nobody in the town is not employed or paying him in some
way, isn't it? Yeah. Back to what Mario said pretty much with number 2, that the score for this is brilliant because again it's not a typical Western, it's all like synth-wavy 80s music stuff. It's again one of those typical revenge films as well, and there's a scene I love about this. So they get stranded on just out in the middle of nowhere. They've got no guns, they've got no food, they've got nothing. They're literally just trying to find their way home. So what do? Let's get high.
It's the ayahuasca scene, and they wake up, and he's just and they're talking. I think it's Kiefer Sutherland just turns around and talks, and his voice has dropped like 10 octaves or something.
Exactly, yeah.
And he's just is it Charlie Sheen that's just stood there naked on the rock? Just
right.
No, yeah. Charlie Sheen's character didn't actually take anything because he was very square. He was quite religious, so he's like, I'm not touching drugs. Right, yep. I think it's Lou Diamond Phillips' character. He stood there, and he's literally because
he puts the face makeup on and stuff, doesn't he?
He's the Navajo of the party, and he's the one that fed them these drugs. But yeah, he's just stood there with a face paint. He's going, ugh. What I like is Dermot Mulroney. Yeah, he's got a shotgun, and he's just letting off. He's going, did you see the size of that rabbit?
And he's the one that's always got the chewing tobacco in his mouth and whatnot, isn't he? Yeah, he never looks like he's.
Christ, look at that rabbit.
He's always a charmer on screen, isn't he? He's completely opposite in this.
He is proper uglied up in this.
He plays dirtied up, scummy bastard,
and he's constantly dribbling. He's got the stains down the side of his mouth.
Isn't even his character's called Dirty Pete?
Yeah,
or Dirty Steve or something. Like that.
Yeah, and he.
Oh wow!
There's such a misfit band.
Absolutely,
and each one of them, yet again, we're like the Magnificent Seven. Each one of them has something that you want to kind of gravitate towards. Like, and it's I always wanted to be the poet, Kiefer Sutherland.
Kiefer Sutherland,
he was so good, so soft in this, and like so kind of gentle, but also like, there's scenes where they're getting mad, and he's just firing the guns off left, right, and centre. Yeah. It's such a both of these,
especially
films,
at the end, like you said, when they're in the house and they're trying to get out. It's such a nail biting scene because it's like, what do you do? How do you get out of this situation? But another reason why I liked this is that they're also very vulnerable. Like as soon as you start liking these guys, they do start getting killed off one by one as well. Until obviously towards the end of the film. But I remember you mentioned in Young Guns too. So at the end of this one, they all have like their little line, like, "Oh, he went off to farm cattle, whatnot," and then Billy the Kid died in such and such, and then Young Guns 2 came out. It's just like
and the start of Young Guns 2. It's that. So, who are you again?
Yeah.
My name's William H. Barney, and I'm going to tell you a little story about my life. And he's like, I don't believe a word you're saying.
Yeah. But can't deny I had to put it back on there, and rewatched it recently for the episode, so it brought back some good memories. So yeah, definitely had to put it on the list. Are you ready, John, for your number 3?
Yeah.
Get your fun facts out. Let's go to number 3.
I don't know about fun facts.
Number 3.
Right,
Stop talking over those fucking soundbites.
Right, my number 3 is a film called Hostiles.
Oh.
2017, Scott Cooper directed it. He also wrote it. Christian Bale, again, and Rosamund Pike.
Really?
I like Rosamund Pike.
For those that are unaware, John bought a roll of tissues with him tonight. I think he's just used 90%.
There's a few pillows over there, mate, if you need them.
So this is
We're not bringing in food out.
This is a film that...
I've never heard of this.
No, I haven't either.
It clashed with... When it, let me start again. Its box office was affected by the release of a film, Maze Runner, and Jumanji: Welcome to the Jungle.
Yeah.
So this film ended up at number 5 in the charts when it could have been had they timed it better. So it cost 39 million, and they only got 36 out of the box office. But I think they made more when they sold it to like Netflix or something. I think it was Netflix or Prime. Someone of them took it. But basically, it's this settler and her family. They end up like we said before. She ends up going out west, start a new life, and have a house and cattle and stuff. And they get attacked by this Native American tribe, and Comanches. They're called Comanches, and
it's pronounced Jumanji.
No, Comanche. So anyway, so they killed her husband, they killed children. She manages to hide under a cliff face, and she gets away. And this Christian Bale's character is a captain in the army, the cavalry, and he's about to retire, and he gets given this job by his, general, shall we say, and it is to escort this old Indian who's dying of cancer and 4 of his family back to, I think it's Montana, to their tribal land, so that he can die on his land in peace. And Christian Bale doesn't want to do the job because he's had run-ins with this guy when they had like the Indian Wars, what they called them, before the Civil Wars and that. And so he doesn't want to, so the general basically says to him, well, you have to do it. If you don't do it, I'm going to take your pension away from you, so you'll have nothing. So he ends up having to escort this guy. And the story then is about while they're on the way to take this guy, they come across this woman. And so she tells them what's happened, and the younger Indians that are with the older guy, they help her, and they get sorted. And in the middle of the night, a couple of them, they go away from the camp when they're not noticed, and they manage to track down the Comanche tribe, and they manage to kill a couple of them. So the next day, when they're all on their way back to this land, they come across the bodies, and Christian Bale's character is like thinking, well, hang on a minute, how did those guys end up dead? So he starts thinking that there's someone in the group has sneaked out, and it turns out that's what's happened. So there's this. It ends up with this call like a camaraderie between the guy that he hated. He ends up, by the end of the film, he ends up liking him, and he's glad that he's done the trip. It's not like I say, it's 2017. I don't know if anyone's seen it, and I can give away bits of it, but he ends up, like I say, he's friends with the older Indian, and him and the younger ones, they end up getting attacked by this landowner who owns, because when they get to the land, the old Indian has died, so they're in the middle of trying to bury him, and these cowboys come running up, and they're basically the bloke's going, because he's kicked all the Indians off his land, and he's basically saying, you can't be here. This is my land. You can't do this. Take the body and go. Just get off my land, sort of thing. And one thing leads to another, where this guy and his men attack the troop on their way out, and they kill quite a few of them. And then they end up going back, killing a lot of, I think it's the guy and all of his men. And then Christian Bale's character ends up basically taking the guy and his family back to where they should have been, and helps bury him and everything, and takes and one of the girls goes with him, and then they come back, and it all ends up happily ever after, sort of thing. But I liked it because it was a guy who, he had so much hate for him, and he was like, "There's no way on this planet I'm having anything to do with this guy." And then by the end of it, he's like his best mate, and he's learned a newfound liking for the people. It's a bit like what we were saying about Quigley. When Quigley goes out to Australia,
like appreciation of them.
He starts to appreciate, well, hang on a minute, these people were here before. This Christian Bale's character is very much the same in this. He's very much like, well, hang on a minute. He started off like this cavalry soldier fighting them and killing them, and then by the end of it, it's like he starts to realise, well, hang on, these guys were here before us, and they've got more of a right to this land. So it's one of those films. If you like that kind of a story, it's a good watch. It's not that old a film. Like I say, it's not, I think it's Netflix or Prime or something. It was. I think I
never heard him, mate.
I saw it on Netflix,
neither.
but I thought it was quite.
I thought he was only in that 310 to him. I never heard of this one.
However, John has literally just blow by blow given us the full account of that film.
Yeah.
So we don't need to watch it, really. But
I didn't think you would watch it, so that's why I did.
Oh, fuck you, I might have done.
But Rosamund Pike plays a good part in it, because it's her husband and kids that have been killed.
I like her.
So I like her, yeah, I do like her. Yeah.
Ever since Gone Girl, I've never watched anything with her in.
Mate.
She's a colossal cunt in that film.
She really is.
Well,
She really is.
Even Ben Affleck calls her that in that movie.
Yeah. But anyway, so that's my number 3.
Nice, sir.
Let's go east.
Follow that, Howard.
Oh, easily, I'm sure.
Heading east. Clint is now, he's found God.
Oh, hang on a minute. I think I know this one. Yeah.
So he's rode into town, and they all identify him as a preacher. This is
I know this one.
Pale Rider from 1985.
Yeah.
He's playing the same fucking character. I'm not looking
But God's on his side.
God is now on his side.
Yeah.
You begin to realise throughout the course of this film that he's not quite what he seems. No. And I think it's the nice touch with these types of films. It is the same bloody film, but what's the slight twist on the character?
He's religious.
He's religious, yeah. Well, he's dressed like a preacher. He's dressed like
a preacher. He do the sign of the cross every time he kills someone.
He doesn't have a gun.
The double shotgun that he pumps.
Like Industrial Dawn. Awesome.
He doesn't have a gun with him, but you suddenly realise that this character who's here to help some prospectors in a valley, they're under pressure from the local mining firm to fuck off. Yeah. They want them out of there. They're getting in their way. They just want to mine that land and literally tear it apart and get all of the resources.
I think they poison some of them in the village. Don't they poison the water or something?
Yeah, and they tried all these...
They tried everything to get rid of them.
All of these nefarious little acts in order to stop them, get rid of them, falling short of killing them. Yeah. Well, Clint's turned up. He's taken a liking to him. Yeah. He's clearly out for some sort of quest or revenge, and he doesn't like this. So, they say to him, look, can you... You've got a bit of an edge to you. Can you go off?
He's good with a gun, so...
Well, it comes clean that, he's not quite a preacher. He's got a hidden past. He is a gunslinger. He's possibly not a very nice man. He goes off and has a word with him. One of the scenes that I really do like about this, though, because you've got actors like Chris Penn in it, Sean Penn's
Chris Penn's in this. How old is this movie?
1985.
Oh, 85, right. Okay,
you've got to bear in mind. I
was going to say. I didn't know. I know the name. I've never seen the movie. So
an actress at the time, Carrie Snodgrass, who puts in a good turn, and Richard Keel, who was
Jaws in Bond.
Well, Richard Keel is the big hired muscle. So Clint
the axe handles,
Clint basically he fronts up to him and he's like, I'm going to wipe the floor with you. Well, Clint wipes the floor with him,
right?
Because now he's this little mouse running away, going, "Oh, I'm so sorry."
I think he has pickaxe handles, and he's like hitting people with them and everything, and like you say, Clint Eastwood comes along, and I think Clint Eastwood whacks him in the bollocks with it, and he's like I say, he goes down and he runs off like.
But it was a nice, David versus Goliath, and he's like, all right then, bosh, and that's the end. That's the end of Jaws.
He breaks the handle. He hits him so hard, he breaks the handle.
He does, but the evolutionary step of the character of Clint, and he's a preacher with a past, and he's not a very nice man, but you're rooting for him because it's Clint, and he goes and he wipes away any trace of the mining company, and hooray, the prospectors win, and they get their little valley back.
I like the way he did that. Like, he could have done like the voice of a trailer, the preacher with a past.
The preacher with a past.
The 80s.
It was quite
right.
In the 80s. There was quite a few films that came out at the time. I quite, again, because of my father, I quite like country and western music. Sure. And you probably have all heard of Willie Nelson.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
He did a film called The Red-Headed Stranger, and he did I'm glad you know it. He did a soundtrack for it as well. It was called The Time of the Preacher. And there was a lot of films out around about this sort of time. That didn't make this list. This is the Clint list, and Clint list. That makes another list.
There's an N in it. Don't worry.
There is,
just checking.
But films like this around about that sort of time, I don't know why. It was a period that they were clearly covering. Something must have happened around that time in the Old West where a preacher must have strode into town and cleaned up.
Yeah, I think it was a thing. I think also there was a few... Because Western comic books they were almost at their point then as well. I think a lot of that was you've got Preacher, which is not technically a Western comic book, but you had like that kind of edge as well. You also I can't remember the other one,
but it's got its origins. So there was Jonah Hex.
That was it.
Fucking film.
I know, but the comic book.
The character of Jonah Hex. I mean, that sucked balls. But if they did that again, I think it would be pretty damn good. Yeah. Just not by Warner Brothers.
Yeah, no. But. Go on.
Go on. No, go on. No.
Oh, go on.
Did you know that Pale Rider is not quite a remake, but has a basis on a previous older film by Sergio Leone?
Oh.
Of the film, The Man with No Name?
Yes.
If you've ever watched it.
Don't spoil my list, John.
Fuck. Okay. I'll say no more then.
God damn it.
Talk about it at the right time.
Oh, well, okay then.
But Power Rider is actually an excerpt from the Bible. It's about the four horsemen of the apocalypse. Yeah. So one of them was referred to as the Power Rider, and that's essentially what it is.
He's death, isn't he? He's seen his death.
Yeah. So basically, he's there to smite the mining company down.
Yeah.
I won't say more about it. There's a similar thing that runs through all of these films. If you like Clint, just go and churn through all of
That's a
these.
good film.
Power Rider, very, very good film.
Nice.
Very nearly on my list.
Good. Well, not good because you didn't put it on there.
No.
So the West Side then, sir.
Heading West, Young Guns.
Is it really?
Wicked.
1 or 2?
Number 1.
Oh, wow. Okay.
We forgot to mention the... Sorry, go on, carry on.
What did we forget?
I was going to mention that obviously everyone around the table knows this, but Tom Cruise pops up in it, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Yes.
Who does? So what happens to him at the end of the film?
He gets shot, right?
Yeah. By who?
I did know this.
Charlie shoots him.
Charlie shoots him.
Right, shoots him. Yeah. So he, the story goes that he was visiting set one day because obviously the Brat Pack, they were all friends at the time, and either the director or he said, "Can let's be in the film?" Yeah. And he's
just a random guy, isn't he? Trying to get in the house at the end, isn't he?
He's part of the posse, or he's one of the military men. I don't know because obviously,
I need to rewatch that.
The Union sort of step in. Yeah. Give it a quick.
It's very quick. It's towards the end.
So quick. But nice little cameo. A bit of a Hitchcock cameo, but he gets blown away by Charlie before Charlie gets blown away.
True.
There's not a lot that I can mention about it. We've kind of done it now, but one of the things that stood out for me was Emilio Estevez as Billy the Kid.
Yeah,
he does, absolutely. And I'm a big Kiefer Sutherland fan. So again, I was rooting for the character with Doc. I thought I liked Doc. I'm a bit of an old romantic. I've mentioned this time and time and again. He falls in love. He's doing it for the love of a woman. He's this soft poet. He doesn't really like this life that he's leading, but it's a means to an end. And it's so good to watch him ride away with the love of his life as it becomes. Because Billy the Kid lives to fight another day.
And it's a new take on that Billy the Kid kind of...
Yeah, because what's funny is that my partner loves Bill and Ted.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Nice.
Billy the Kid, and the Billy the Kid that they've taken out of history tells the story of how he won the West. But he's this nice guy, Billy the Kid. Yeah. This guy's a dick.
Yeah.
And he is an absolute douchebag.
Well, he's slightly unhinged, isn't he?
In the first one, you get that he's mentally unstable.
He is. He clearly wasn't well, and I think that's what they're hinting at.
They give him a little bit of power, and then he takes that power and
he
pushes it to the limits. And Doc tries to bring him back from that, but then Doc gets kind of wrenched into it.
But I like throughout the film he keeps saying, "I don't like this guy."
I was about to say that because even though he is a bit of a prick in this film, there is a scene where he flushes out a mole, doesn't he?
Yes.
So he's a prick, but he still does care about the group he's with as well at the same time. So he wants to achieve that.
He's one of the ex-posse of Jack Palance's character. He comes to him and he says, "Oh, I've left. They don't like me. I'm an outcast. Can I join the gang?" And at the time, Emilio Estevez is staring at him, he's going, I don't trust you, but
that's it.
Let's let it happen. And they corner two of the guys that kill Terence Stamp's character, and the outsider insider basically says, "Well, I don't think we should shoot them. I don't think we need to take them and we need to go to this
certain
point."
spot, wasn't it? Yeah.
And because he sniffs it out immediately, he goes, "Nah, I don't trust you. I'm going to shoot you in the bang. I'm going to shoot you in the head."
And that's it. No, there's no fucks given. He does it.
And because it starts a little bit of infighting. Charlie Sheen's kicking off. Doc's like, "Oh my god, this guy's insane." But they ride off. They kill the other two. And like Mario mentioned, they were deputised in order to bring to justice the gang that killed their friend. They just go a little bit further, and for the beliefs in the society at the time, it didn't fit.
They were supposed to bring him in alive, but actually they just end up killing all of them.
Yeah,
that's right. In that true fashion.
But that final shootout scene, I love it because
it's great, isn't it?
They start lobbing shit out of the top window, and one of them
is a sofa and a bed. And everything comes out.
What the hell's going on? Because it was a cover for the fact that they chucked out this giant travel case, and this giant
he's in it, isn't he?
And he bursts open. He's going. He just starts letting loose with his shooters, and brilliant film. Absolutely.
It is, yeah.
I want to go and watch them both again.
Do it, yeah. It's a little bit.
I do need to watch 2. 2 I haven't seen in donkey.
2 is so. Young Guns is a guilty pleasure for me because I was very much influenced. I've got 2 older sisters, very much influenced by what they were watching, what they were listening to, and my elder sister was watching films with Tom Cruise. She was watching films with
all these heartthrobs, weren't they?
All of these heartthrobs, yeah, because you got them all in this genre, which I very much loved at the time. I was like, do you know what? I'm on board with this. Later years, you think, oh God, I can't admit that I like that. It's got those guys in it. But what a great film. And with a banging soundtrack.
Yeah. It is, mate. Come on. It's just so weird how it works.
When you said Western as well.
But the music fits.
Yeah.
It's like that scene in Knight's Tale where David Bowie just suddenly kicks in.
Yeah.
Golden years.
It's not out of place. It's not. It doesn't belong here, but it's definitely not out of place.
Yeah.
It's crazy how it goes. And the thing is that, like, at that specific scene, you're like, okay, but it works so well. Yeah. So
I'll take it.
I'll take it, mate. Yeah.
There you go.
Anything else on Young Guns?
Not on Young Guns, no.
Then we will go to Mario's number 3.
Okay, so where it gets serious now. So my next 3 all have an actor in common.
Okay.
He is a well-known cowboy. We've mentioned him a couple of times. Marion Morrison. John Wayne.
Yep.
And the film is The Searchers.
Yes.
Nice. This has got to be an honorable mention for me.
The Searchers is
one of mine,
it's John Wayne acting, but John Wayne playing a nasty bastard.
Yeah.
Because he is looking for his niece, and they've been his family has been captured by Comanches. He goes hunting to collect them back, and it takes place over so many years that he finds one, she's dead. And then he finds out that they've actually just adopted his niece essentially into the tribe, and he's trying to bring her back, but at the same time trying to avenge the fact that they've come and killed the family and killed the other niece. And he just goes from he starts as not a nice person, but not a bad person.
He transitions, doesn't he? And you can see it on screen.
By the end of the film, he is dark. He's the man in the black hat. There is blood on his hands, his gloves, his saddle, everything. He is just,
It's John Wayne in a, like you say, in a different light, because he's always been like the good guy. You know?
He's the sheriff, or he does play a drunken fool, but not a drunken fool as such, but he does play like a drunken cowboy with some, that's his worst trait, is that he's a drunk. In a couple of films, I'd say he's a woman beater, but like not in the stages of, like, if you look at later westerns, they probably go to town on women. Like he in this one isn't that person. He's the only strong character from that family that could do the job that he's going to do, and that is bring back his nieces. And it doesn't happen instantly; it happens over time, because by the time he discovers her, like, she's in her teens.
She's integrated into the family now. She doesn't. If I remember right, she doesn't want to leave.
She doesn't want to leave. Doesn't understand. She doesn't even speak English at that point. She's part of the tribe.
Yeah. She doesn't like I say, she doesn't understand. No, she's not actually.
Yeah, that's it. She's fully integrated. Like it's almost like Stockholm syndrome. Yeah. She's taken into the tribe, and he has to try and convince her that she needs to come out. And she's trying to protect the tribe, but at the same time, he's trying to tell her that she's different. She's not one of them. And I just really like this, because it was the first time that I'd watched the Western with John Wayne in that I'd actually enjoyed the Western for what it was. The story, the entirety. And it wasn't him kind of being your stereotypical John Wayne hero like we talked about. Like, it wasn't that superhero.
He's kind of like, he's got a certain set of skills.
It is.
He will kill you.
It is a Western Taken before Taken came out. Yeah, very much so. But he does. Yeah, he goes downhill very quickly in this film, and the rides across some of the from some of the scenes, and him himself, like, he just plays gritty and nasty, and his voice changes from what it used to be. Like he has kind of like that. What's his William Shatner sort of voice to him when he speaks in his films. Like, he phrases stuff in a certain way. He has pauses at a certain point, and the way he intonates in this, he's very, very, very kind of monosyllabic in a way. Like, his voice shows emotion, but it's not showing the emotion you're expecting to get out of him. And I really like this film with him in it. It is gritty, it is nasty, it is dirty, it is a horrible.
So it's picked because of John Wayne doing a different direction with
that, and
his...
I really enjoyed this film. Like, I know it doesn't sound very enjoyable film to watch, but actually it has redemption at the end of it. It's just not necessarily.
See, with a lot of westerns, it's like what like what you've said before, right? You leave your brain at the door because you know it's a good guy,
black hat, white hat.
But with this one, you start after it doesn't take long, but you start realizing, hang on a minute, there's a little bit more going on here.
Because they could have killed her, they could have left her for dead, they could have done, but actually they didn't. They integrated her. They didn't actually come to kill her. She put up a fight, which is why they took her.
They admired her spirit,
and they wanted her spirit in the tribe, and that's what comes out of the whole thing at the end of it. And his kind of blinkered revenge in that she's family. I've got to get family back. I've got to do this. I've got to do that. And then when it's intensified by the fact that he then finds his other niece, like she's dead, she's dying.
Yes.
And that just intensifies his kind of desperation.
His need to rescue the other one,
And it's not just because it's a different direction. It's because it's the first kind of Western that showed me that it wasn't all kind of black hat, white hat. No. It wasn't very much here's the bad guy. Here's the guy you should be hating. This is like, okay, so I don't like the Native Americans, but actually they're not doing anything bad here. Like he doesn't understand them, they don't understand him. There's a cross of communication somewhere. Okay, they did kidnap his niece, but they've actually not hurt her. They've not treated her badly either. Like it's all very well. It's all very nice, kind of in that aspect, but also like he's trying to get this person back. His not property, but like she belongs to his family, and she's part of it. And that's what brings it to me, is that and him showing this different emotion, because like I say before, John Wayne's very wooden in some of his
Westerns. Most definitely,
and even in McClintock and some of the war films, he's fighting tigers and stuff like that, he's very wooden. But this is the start of an acting John Wayne, I would say. And this leads into like other films that I liked of his. I won't mention them now, but they've definitely got on the honourable mentions. But this leads into that. He was this is the start of him earning his Oscar, I believe. This is the start of that.
Nice. Anything else on that?
No, that was quite a downer. But I'll take it. That's good.
I'm sure we'll take it up in a sec. Right, so my number 3 then. We're going to go 90s now. Ooh. Last 2 films were 80s, so this is going to be 90s. It's 1993's Tombstone.
Yay!
Let's start with
Uncle
this
Kurt
being the best, come at me, the best cast in a movie ever. Where do I start? Uncle Kurt, of course, that doesn't run. Val Kilmer, one of his best performances ever. Sam Elliott, Bill Paxton, Powers Booth, Michael Biehn, Charlton Heston, Stephen Lang, Thomas Hayden Church, Michael Rooker, and Billy Bob Thornton, all in one frigging movie.
Yeah. Amazing,
amazing.
And Jason Priestley.
Yes. Sorry,
Priestley. Cowboys 90210.
Yeah,
it is. Yes.
Just going to say that
because again, I was watching this recently, and I forgot. I know that dude from the glasses, and of course, 90210. Yeah. So this movie, I picked it because this was one of those ones that was big, but never big here. This was one that was bigger on video more than it was the cinema, wasn't it? It very went under the radar. But it's obviously about Wyatt Earp, played by Kurt Russell. But this is Wyatt Earp after his martial days. This is a man who's now retired. He wants to move on from that whole life, but everyone knows the name. Everyone knows Wyatt Earp. So when he gets mentioned, they always offer him a job, and he's like, no, I'm not interested. Moving on with life. It's called Tombstone because that is the town that he wants to move to and start a new life. I think he buys like a saloon and starts doing a gambling place and whatnot there. And then obviously there is a group. So there's a group of outlaw cowboys called the Cowboys. And we identify them by they wear like a red sheath or a red something on it.
Is it like a red scarf or something?
Yeah, something like that. They attach it to them so you know who they are. And it's a very slow burn to start because, again, we're trying to get into moving on, but you know something's going to happen. You know the marshal and him is going to come back and, start havoc all over again. But it plays off a little bit more, and then obviously the Cowboys start, rioting shit and everything, start taking his business in, and eventually shoot his brother, which is where the point where White Earp's had enough and said, you know what, sick and tired of this, let's go back to being a marshal and let's take down these fucking guys.
It's based on the legend of White Earp, isn't it? This is based on actual, well, not I say actual fact, but as factual as you can get within the actual cowboy ethos.
Yeah, so Sam Elliott plays his brother, Bill Paxton's his other brother, younger brother,
a clan of brothers and cousins.
Yeah, so Sam Elliott loses his arm. Bill Paxton's the one who dies, which is funny enough. The same guy who gets killed by an alien, a Terminator, and a Predator all in one.
Lives through a twister.
But Michael Biehn is brilliant in this as well. He's essentially Billy the Kid in this, right?
He's supposed to be.
Or supposed to be. He doesn't go by that, though, does he?
No.
The Stephen Lang in this is brilliant as well. I can do a great impression of Stephen Lang in this. No. He ain't bluffing. I'll see you soon. I'll see you real soon. You got a fight coming. It's coming tonight. This one, I believe, had a troubled production as well. So directors were in and out of this as well. And recent interview with Michael Biehn, because the Aliens 4K disc is coming out soon. They mentioned him doing Tombstone, and he said he there was a lot more he had filmed, and there was going to be a longer version of this movie as well. So I would love to see that if they ever do bring it out. Yeah. But I think just the cast alone is amazing in this. There's a few gunfights in it. Not as many as there should be for a Western, but no. I love the slow build up. There's another part where he's White Earp's wife's in, she's like she's hooked on drugs and stuff, so he's trying to find a new love affair. What a cunt, eh?
It also goes into the tuberculosis as well.
That's it. That's Hollywood. Doc Hollywood has it, doesn't he? Yeah.
Tuberculosis. So when he's sitting there drinking at the table and coughing up and the blood coming up on his... they play into that a bit more, which is something that nobody had ever mentioned in anything else, about him being that. He was always like his Dr. Watson to, White Earp.
That's right, yeah. Cool. But that ending as well with Doc Hollywood is just amazing. I just never know why he never got like an Academy Award nomination for it. Huh?
Doc Holliday.
Holiday, that's it.
Yeah. Holiday, did I say Hollywood?
Yeah. Doc Hollywood is a...
that's Michael J. Fox, isn't it?
Fox film, yeah.
Plastic surgery
film. Sorry.
Number 2.
My number 2 is a film from 1980. It's called...
80?
1980.
Yeah.
1880.
No, set in 1880. The Long Riders.
Oh, yes.
Because you were saying about...
Yeah.
You were saying about Billy the Kid and that lot. This is about Jesse James and his group and the younger brothers, It's basically, I'm not going to give anything away. I keep it kind of short and sweet. It's all about Jesse James and his rise.
Well, it was 40 years ago. I think you can spoil it now.
Well, it's like his rise to power sort of thing, and the betrayals and stuff like that go on. It's what else did I write in about it here? It says, after the Civil War, banks and trains become the targets for robbers, most notably the James Younger gang. And during one of the robberies, one of the gang shoots a clerk and they get the attention of the Pinkertons, which are
the equivalent of the police, aren't they?
Yeah, and they're like the FBI of their time. They're still going today. Like that company's still going today. They're a private security firm now, and that's where the chase comes in. Basically, they're now that's how they become wanted men, and it's the trials and tribulations basically of becoming gangs. But what stood out for me was again a film with loads of big actors in it, because you had David, Keith, and Robert Carradine. You had James and Stacey Keach, who were also producers, writers, and starred in the film. You had Dennis and Randy Quaid, and you had Christopher and Nicholas Guest. They were all brothers, and they all played actual brothers in the film.
Yeah.
So you had Jesse James and his brother. You had the younger brothers, and I loved the way they done it to get all these actors together, and all the brothers to play these guys. And it's like one of those films where you're rooting for them, you know they're bad guys, but
and tooting,
rooting and tooting, and they're that's gonna be a fucking soundbite.
Johnny, you rooting and
gotcha, rooting and tooting,
You waited.
I waited, and I finally got it.
Bugger. It's a really, really good film. It's worth a watch. Again, it's a long film, but the reason they were called the Long Riders is because they used to wear the long coats to hide the guns. There's a lot of fact in it because obviously J.C. James and them actually did exist.
Yeah, he married Sandra Bullock.
Yeah, eventually, yeah.
Did he?
So, yeah,
Lucky bastard.
yeah.
Really?
In a former life, but yeah. No, it's a good film, well worth a watch. I like I said, because of all the big actors in it. They're all big actors in their own right, and to get them all into that film, it was a bit like we said earlier about other films in the 60s and 70s. They'd have loads and loads of big actors at that time. This is 1980, so these were the big actors of that time, you know. But yeah, good film, worth a watch.
Nice.
Go for it.
Howard, let's go east.
Heading east. So Clint's now an old man.
Yes, he is.
Please be the film I think it is. Please be the film I think it is.
He's retired from his killing days, and he got married again, and he had kids, and he's trying to become a farmer now. His farm is failing. His farm is failing. Everything's a bit dark and dirty, and it's a bit shit. Unforgiven.
Yes.
Yeah.
One of two Westerns I've seen with Clint in.
Directed by him yet again as well.
Yeah.
by
He got
him.
the Academy Award for it as well, didn't he?
Indeed,
So
yeah.
this at the time, this was one of only 3 westerns that had got an Academy Award, and he said up until then he said, "Oh, I'm never going to get an Oscar," and he got it for this film.
Deservedly so.
Deservedly so, yeah. And an advancement of the archetypal character, but also we're now in that period where filmmakers are making that real. People are dying in the Old West.
Yeah.
People are horrible to each other.
People are scarred in the Old West.
People are scarred.
That's what leads this in, isn't it?
People are scarred in the Old West. Mm-hmm. The story basically goes that there's this crummy little town, and there's a brothel. And somebody goes in and basically disfigures. I'm struggling to remember 1 or 2 of the workers in there. The prozzies in there. Well, do you know what? They've had enough of this, and they get together a bounty, and then they put it out to tender, and they say, "Please get this guy.
Yeah,
we've had enough. He's terrorising our town. He's disfiguring our women. He's killing people. Things are happening." Well, the man that responds to that is, I believe. What's the name of the actor? I can't remember the name of the actor.
Is it not Ed Harris?
No, it's not Ed Harris. I didn't write it down here, but this guy responds.
No, it's a young guy, isn't it? Yes, it's the young guy. Sorry, yes.
Well, he ropes in Clint Eastwood as William Money and his best friend, who is Morgan Freeman.
Yes, that's it.
Yeah. Now you got these old gunslingers who are on hand, but they're in it for the money because Clint's farm is dying, and he needs to do this because life is bad. It's essentially it's a revenge story, but it says that people didn't do it for revenge; they did it for the money. And it's dark and it's dirty, and Clint is at his absolute guttural best with this one. And to me, I think this was the story that he wanted to tell for a very, very, very long time.
Yeah.
And it is what I thought it was. The bad guy in it as well, Lex Luthor.
Yes.
Yeah, Gene Hackman.
Yeah, Gene Hackman. Do you know what I love about Gene Hackman in this film? Is that he's building his own house.
Yeah.
And his own house is shockingly bad because it's wonky and it's at an angle. And you think, we don't like Gene Hackman in this film because he's the bad guy. But I feel kind of sorry for him because he's trying to build this house, in the background of being a bit of a knob, and it's a bit shonky. And I just think, I actually feel sorry for him.
But he also tries
quite inept.
Yeah, he tries to palm himself as like a preacher man.
He
as
does.
Well, doesn't he? He tries to palm himself as like the saviour of the town, and he's putting everything back in. And actually, what he's doing is he's milking it for everything it's worth. He's just trying to get his own, kind of. Riches and his own wealth and everything about it. Like he is horrible Gene Hackman at his best, like villainous Gene Hackman at his best.
Hateful Gene Hackman.
Yeah. He does play a good villain. So.
He does.
He plays everything good. I love Gene Hackman.
He does. I would rate Gene Hackman as one of the best actors I think I've ever seen.
Absolutely.
He's definitely top 10. So.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I agree with that. So Unforgiven is 1992 is when this film was made, and I think the public were ready but not ready for this. This was Clint. This was a different Clint because he was just.
He gets fucked up in this.
He does, yeah.
I remember it being a bit of a slow burn as well.
It
this
really
one
is
right
up until the part where because he it's not your usual kind of Rocky kind of redemption, you know, where Rocky gets, you know, beaten or he gets defeated in the third act, and in the second act, and you're like, oh, what's he going to do now? I know what, training montage. In this, there's a whole scene, a whole sequence where like he's just fucked. He can't get out of bed. He can't do anything
because he's an old man at this stage.
And he's looked after by one of the girls that's disfigured, and she turns around and says, "I can do anything for you. You know, I don't look as good as I used to, but you know, for you, Mister, if you help me." And he's just like, "You don't need to do that. Like, you're beautiful as you are," sort of thing. Like proper cheese, but actually,
but it gets you right where it needs
he
to.
says what she needs to hear, and she's just trying to do what she knows. But he gets revenge not for him, but for her.
For them,
and that's what it was about. Yeah.
And I remember the shootout being very slow as well. It's not like he goes running and gunning and anything.
Because he can't.
No, exactly.
It's very high noon. Like,
and when you look at it, you got Morgan Freeman as an old man, Gene Hackman as an old man. Yeah. This is the West at the end of its
time. This is if you'd made it through all the disease, you'd made it through all the gunfight, you made it through the saloons and the women in the saloons, and you survived. This
was what was waiting for you, and it was kind of depressing, really. And at the very end of the film, basically everybody dies, and it's all a bit nasty. But there's I can't remember whether somebody speaks it or it's written, but he basically said William. No, nobody really knows what happens to William Money, but we suspect that he naffed off to San Francisco with his children because his wife's dead at this point. He had nothing to lose. He abandoned his farm. He's done what he had to do. It was his last big blowout before he was just disappearing.
His last hurrah.
His last hurrah. And again, he fits the archetype of the man with no name, but this was the man with no name when he lived his life. He'd done all his killing. He was trying to be left alone, but the West would not leave him alone. And he gets absorbed.
Dragged him back in for one last.
He gets brought back into this life that he didn't really enjoy. And he says, do you know what? I'm going to stick two fingers up at you. And that's what you get with Unforgiven. And what an amazing film. I'd probably say there's one more film on this list, on this Clint list, but if I had to go the Clint list, if I had to go back and watch any Clint Eastwood film again and again and again, I will watch Unforgiven.
Same here.
Definitely.
Yeah, it's definitely that's one of his best works.
Yeah.
I really like
it's
that.
It's the film he wanted to make.
Yeah.
And apparently the story had floated about for so long. No studio wanted to make it.
I don't understand why. It's a great story.
Timing, I think. Yeah. That's what I said. I think people.
But it's like you said, people weren't ready for another Western. They wanted to move on, didn't they?
Yeah, because it came after all the other ones, didn't it? It came after Tombstone.
Well, actually, Tombstone was 93. This was 92.
It was 92.
So maybe it triggered those.
Well, they would have been being made at the same time.
Yeah,
so,
absolutely. Yeah.
Nice.
Unforgiven.
Over to the west.
Heading west, we have got Tombstone.
Yay! That's why I held it back, mate. You were biting your tongue, so I thought I'd let you have the rest. Go on.
I mean, the thing about this film is that it tells a very well-known story.
Yeah, absolutely.
The gunfight, the OK Corral.
Yeah.
You've got the Clantons versus the Earps, and it's the final shootout. What family was going to win? Now, there's nothing really I can add to what you said. It's got a stellar cast. I think the only other name he didn't add to that was Billy Zane.
Fuck yeah.
The Phantom himself.
Exactly.
Yeah, and that guy from Titanic.
I have a child. Please, she's all I have. I still remember him from. Do you remember he was in Critters, the first one?
Yes. He was in Critters, and do you remember him from Back to the Future as well?
Yes.
One of his games.
We could do this the easy way or the hard way. The easy way.
I echo what you said. I think this is Val Kilmer's finest role.
Yeah.
Because it's Doc Holliday. He absolutely
over Iceman.
Over Iceman.
Iceman, I don't think he has a lot to do.
No, he doesn't, and he's not very good at it.
Right.
And even in the latest...
I just know you're very up there with Top Gun.
Oh, yeah, look, at the end of the day, if you sit around this table and you say Top Gun, you will not be making it out of this room.
It's 3 against 1.
I can honestly say Val Kilmer in that film wasn't actually very good.
No.
He's reached this point now where, he's done a few films.
Better in this.
Yeah,
he's no Batman Forever.
Although you say that, but then I would put Val Kilmer's Bruce Wayne as the best Bruce Wayne that there is.
I'll allow that.
He was a shonky Batman, but he was a brilliant Bruce Wayne. So Val Kilmer steals the film most definitely. But one of the factettes that comes out of this film is that Wyatt Earp in 1915 became the Hollywood consultant for the big Hollywood studios.
I did know this.
Basically, any Hollywood film that came after that time was because of its authenticity and the fact that they were real was because of Wyatt Earp.
Yeah, it's like he gave them the seal of approval kind of.
Well, yeah, he started working on the films of John Ford, who was very much a pioneer.
Fantastic John Ford.
Around that time, around that time, a big director, in order to make them so realistic. And it was because of Wyatt Earp. So, films that we appreciate today was because of the guy from the OK Corral. Yeah. No, Tombstone. I think again, I gravitated towards it because of the cast, mainly Kurt Russell not running, but it's
you tell him I'm coming, and Hal's coming with me
on Jax's pony. Yeah,
and a very very gritty. We keep using this word.
It is though. Yeah.
Westerns are they're deep, they're dirty, not just physically, but also like the subject matter. Like,
well, I followed up Unforgiven with Tombstone, and it's where they've fallen on this list. It's a mass coincidence, but my next Western after Unforgiven was Tombstone, and I think it was a statement of what viewers were needing at the time. It was real. It was bloody. People died. People weren't very nice to each other, and it was definitely the way forward at the time. But
do you remember the scene where Wyatt goes no and dodges all the bullets, Matrix style? No, and all the guys like, I've never seen anything like that.
He is the one.
Right?
Yeah, it was slightly fantastical in places, but you had to ham it up for a Hollywood.
All of the whole entire cast just give it all they got.
They do.
The biggest star of that entire film is Kurt Russell's moustache.
True,
It's massive on his face, and it doesn't move.
Yeah, long on moustache.
Yeah.
Not as stupid as you look like. Now go on and get back. Go on, get back. Go on, Billy. I love Stephen Lang. Stephen Lang's amazing.
Oh dear.
So Tombstone.
Nice, good pick, sir. So Mario, number two, sir.
So like John's number 5, mine's a remake, but I also like the original. And I like the original prequel to this as well. So put your eye patches on, put your reins between your teeth, and we are going for True Grit.
Yeah,
what an amazing film. What a film.
We are going with Haley Steinfeld, looking for a man who has true grit. Mm-hmm. The film that should have subtitles, because I have no idea what Jeff Bridges says through this entire film.
Thinking about it.
I remember, John Wayne. John Wayne through his version of this character, Rooster Cogburn, being very kind of trying to be like a modern action hero sort of thing. In this, Jeff Bridges plays a disgruntled, fed up with everyone and everything cowboy,
constantly drunk,
but capable as well. And the scene where he gets gets it on, where he just puts the reins between his teeth, guns out, pulls out the shotgun as well, and just goes.
What's the famous line he says before it?
Oh, fuck knows. I can't remember.
Throw them down, you sons of bitches.
The Rooster Cogburn character, and I remember watching the John Wayne Rooster Cogburn and the Lady, and being like, oh, this is a Western, this is cool. And then watching True Grit, I think True Grit came first, then it was Rooster Cogburn and the Lady. I might have it either way around.
But True Grit first.
True Grit first. But I remember watching Rooster Cogburn was the one that I saw first, then I saw True Grit. And that character with the eye patch, with the gun, the reins between his teeth, and just riding down the rain, and just such an awesome character. And then having it remade, as well as, Brolin being the bad guy as well, Josh Brolin being the bad guy, and Matt Damon playing the really eager cowboy that wants to get into a fight, who's never killed anyone before in his life, and the want-to-be apprentice. It's just so good, and Haley Steinfeld as well in a very early role for her, and she has this deep Southern accent that I've never heard her do.
She ended up being
before.
Kate Bishop.
Yeah, she did.
Didn't she?
Bishop, yeah. One of my favourite Hawkeyes. I know that's controversial because everyone goes, Hawkeye shit. I really like Hawkeye. The comic books are amazing. He's one of my favourite characters in the books.
Hawkeye is a mutant.
Allegedly. Well, there's a whole... But have you seen... So I have a Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse book. Yeah. And I can't remember what the name of the book is. But at the end of the book, it has Hawkeye and Spider-Man. And they're going through a training sequence. And Hawkeye is trying to keep up with Spider-Man. And Spider-Man goes, you did all right, but you missed the last one. And Hawkeye's beating himself up because he's been training for years and years and months to be as good as he is. As where Peter Parker is like 16 and can fire webs at anything and jump and hear anything. But going back to this and Hailee Steinfeld is like really good as this kind of... She's looking for revenge for the man that killed her father. Really basic, really easy Western premise. And Matt Damon is there for the money. He's never killed anyone before. He's not really a cowboy as such. He's got some sort of, reputation, but it's only reputation by accident rather than realistic. Rooster Cogburn has this kind of history behind him, being like a general, I think, in the Confederate Army or something. And he was like a big... He's
got a history, isn't he?
He's a big war hero. And she seeks him out specifically because she's heard all the stories about him, but actually he's nothing more than a drunk who's killed a few people by accident, or just is he? By the end of the film, he is,
for a fictional character. I think he was one of the first examples of a fictional Western character who became he became synonymous with the West.
Yeah.
See, nowadays you talk about like action heroes and science fiction heroes, and you go, oh yeah, so Rooster Cogburn, definitely. But an anti-hero of his time.
Definitely. And the way that John Wayne played him one way, but Jeff Bridges plays him in such a different way.
And that's what I love about a remake. It's much like music, isn't it? Because you could just do the same song over and over again. What makes it different? His portrayal of Rooster Cogburn.
And Goody did his own thing with it, wasn't it?
It was nice. It was a nice thing within the story itself. The legend of the Old West is greater than the Old West itself.
Yeah.
Because, you got this ex-military hero. He's clearly the best at what he does. No, he's not. He's just some old soap.
Yeah. He literally is an accidental hero or an accidental telling of a hero. The story is bigger than the actual person, but actually he can back the story up. It's just that he doesn't feel he ever should.
It wasn't as glamorous as they make it out.
No, and he keeps trying to convince her to go the opposite direction. Like there is a stage where she picks up the gun and he mumbles with that Western drawl that, have you ever shot anyone? Because once you do it, there's no coming back. You can't get that back. Taking a life is a lot easier than giving a life, and she's just kind of trying to get that revenge and get that, and he's trying to convince her otherwise, like killing isn't the way forward. As where Matt Damon's going, I'll kill anyone. Come on, bring him in. I've got guns. Look,
when he's not talking like this because he bit his lip.
That's it's such a good film. The remake is really good. The John Wayne ones are really good, but in a different way. This one definitely sets up like a grittier, but also it's much funnier. I think this is much funnier, mainly because of Jeff Bridges playing straight, but you can't understand a word he says through the whole film. And when you do get what he says, it's really just classic kind of almost comedic timing, but in a serious moment. I really enjoyed this film. I really love this film. True Grit.
Nice. Nice. Good pick, mate. Right, okay.
Come on.
Sorry.
Follow that.
Right. I've written a few notes down for this one because I know no one else apart from John knows this movie. We're going to go with a bit of world cinema for a Western.
Ooh.
And I have picked 2008's The Good, the Bad and the Weird.
I have heard of this.
Heard of it?
I've heard of it.
So it's directed by, it's a Korean movie, Korean Western, directed by Ji Woon Ham, which did a couple of my favourite movies in Korea, which is I Saw the Devil, one of the best thrillers out there, as well as, apart from Old Boy, another amazing revenge story.
Phenomenal.
Yeah, he didn't direct it, but he done another revenge film like Old Boy called A Bittersweet Life. Fantastic movie. If you haven't seen it, I highly recommend it. Anyway, The Good, the Bad and the Weird. Now, I like this because it is a massive blend of everything I've put on this list. So, Western, comedy, drama, it's all into one film here. So, set in the 1930s, a thief, a bounty hunter, and a killer clash on a train robbery and find themselves on a wild treasure hunt, chasing each other as well as being chased by the Japanese army. Amazing cinematography, amazing horse stunts, amazing gunfights. The movie starts off as with the train robbery, so hey, that's a plus side for westerns. All builds up to this great story, which can build up to this really amazing climax at the end, which pays off really, really well, I think, in my eyes. But the characters themselves, so the bounty hunter is essentially he's the character that's all serious and pays homage to Clint Eastwood's character, the man with no name. We've got the killer, which is cold-blooded, doesn't give a shit, and literally kills anything that gets in his way. And then you've got the thief, who is the comedic side of the movie, played by, again, one of my favourite Korean actors, Song Kang-ho, which was in Parasite. He's technically the Tom Hanks of Korea. And then the cold-blooded killer is played by Lee Byron-hun, who is technically Korea's Robert De Niro in a way out there as well. I friggin' love this movie. I rewatched it again for this episode because I think you and I watched it a while ago, didn't we? Yeah. And it just has everything that ticks the right boxes for a great Western. And I cannot highly recommend it enough. A lot of it is all practical effects as well. I think there's only one bit with the train that's all CGI'd, but just fantastic to look at and entertaining as hell. Please, if you ever get a chance, watch it if you're into subtitles and stuff. If you don't, you're missing out on a great Western. And I did have it was very close to being number one, but something else took it, and I will explain that when we get there. Ooh. So, nothing else on that. We'll go to number ones.
It's number one.
Go on then, John. Bring it home, sir.
My number one, I have a funny feeling you might have it, but I will say
it won't be. Trust me.
I've got a feeling I know what your number one is. Or at least I hope it is. I hope it's
not.
Damn it. My number one is from 2015.
Oh.
Bone Tomahawk.
No.
You're not got it?
Honourable mention.
Oh,
Uncle Kurt again.
It is, yeah. It is.
And
yes,
again, he doesn't run. No, he doesn't run. Kurt Russell, David Arquette.
This is a savage film. I'm surprised you put this in here.
This is one that goes all over. Yeah, all
at the end.
It's Western stroke horror.
I still haven't seen this.
Have you not? Right, okay.
But I know the premise about it.
I'm not going to tell the story.
That's fine. No, tell what you need, John.
No. Because it's a film.
You have to tell the premise of the story at least. Because what's the point in having it in your number one?
Yeah, well, small town sheriff Kurt leads a posse into the desolate, uncharted region to rescue 3 people abducted by a Native American tribe that not a lot is known about, and that's all I'm going to say.
Isn't Patrick Wilson in this as well?
Yeah. It's a very slow start film. The action isn't really. The action is more in the second half of the film, isn't it?
But it's very violent.
Well, the last bit is
There's no CGI in this film. Does
it have your catchphrase?
I like it.
I like it.
It's very gory.
It is bloody gory. Yes. Well, even the version we have in this country is still cut.
Yeah.
Compared to what I've heard.
It's very hard to find an uncut version of it. I don't know. Have we seen? I think we've seen the uncut version.
I think we have, yeah. But
considering
I had to download that in the end. No, I don't do piracy. Don't listen.
Yeah.
Hooky copy. Hooky copy. Let's call it that. Yeah.
If it's on the internet, I'll find it.
But no, I understand why you put this because this is very, like I said, very Western all the way through, and then like literally the last bit, it's like oh shit,
unlike
this is
any
now a horror
Western
movie.
you've ever seen. It is because it is very much like I say. Kurt Russell plays. He's a sheriff in a small town, in the middle of nowhere.
He literally has the same tash as Tombstone as well in this movie.
Yeah, he probably has, and the same clothes probably. But all the characters they all play very, very good parts, and it's a film it was my number one all the time. When I was putting the list together, I already had this as my number one because it's the one Western that you don't really see what's coming. Yeah. You just do not expect it to go the direction that it goes in because you're so used to other Westerns that this one takes you by complete surprise. It is very graphic, very shocking.
Not until the very end, though.
But not till like I say, it's the last, say, half hour, 40 minutes, maybe half hour. All the action is there, but there's the lead up. There's that so you work out who the characters are, why they're doing it, where they're going, the reason they're doing it. All of that comes through the rest of the film, and then so when they get there, you know why they're there now. But it's taking Western into a different direction. It's a good film.
It did. I think that's why it stood out.
That's why it stood out.
And everyone was talking about that ending as well when it came out.
Because again, Western, Kurt Russell. Yeah, I know where this is going to go. No, you don't.
But it's not something. It's not something when you watch it. It's not something you would go. Well, Kurt Russell would definitely want to do this sort of film. It's just weird how it's not his. Yeah,
that's what I mean. I started watching it thinking, even the name kind of doesn't really give you much because. Native Americans had tomahawks. So you kind of think, it's Western. Kurt Russell does Westerns. Yeah, great. I know where this is going. You don't know where this is going. It's, and I'll tell you, it is a good film.
Are there any Native Americans in the jungle, John?
What jungle?
Don't bloody start.
On the commentary corner for Predator, remember?
Yeah, but,
don't make me cut it, John.
There could be, because jungle is massive.
It is.
Jungle everywhere, man. There's jungle everywhere, man.
Anything else on Bone?
No, I'll leave
nice.
it there.
I'm glad you didn't give away the ending.
Just watch it.
Nice.
Yeah.
Let's head east then, sir.
Let's hear.
So heading east to the final choice for the Clint list is A Fistful of Dollars.
Oh,
wow! You picked that over the three. I'm intrigued now.
Right.
That's simply capping the three. I would put all three in the same category.
Really?
Yeah. I would put them all equal pegging.
Yeah.
But without Fistful, you wouldn't have the other two.
No, of course. Yeah.
So Clint's his signature character of the man with no name, or Blondie, or whatever you want to call him, whatever he's called throughout any of these films. Blue eyes. Yeah. This is the one that started it all, and I think anything that came afterwards was built in the image of this film. Yes, it was down to Clint, but it was also down to the fact that it was by a director called Sergio Leone, who I'm hoping we all know.
Yeah. The originator of the spaghetti westerns, wasn't he?
Yeah, the spaghetti westerns, so called because they were Italian made.
Exactly.
They were not made in the US.
No.
An interesting fact, just quickly deepen into that, is the fact that at the time, Clint was working rawhide.
Yep.
It's very much a Tom Selleck point of view. He was not allowed to be released to work a US film whilst he was working on rawhide. So they went abroad.
Did an Italian film.
Yeah, they went abroad and did an Italian film. And what a series of films these were.
Yeah.
The Fistful of Dollars. Now, I saw The Good, the Bad and the Ugly to begin with.
Yeah.
And it blew me away. I thought, this is an absolute...
Does it matter which way you watch them?
No.
Not really, no.
No.
They are three separate stories.
I mean, they are three separate, and they are...
They are three separate stories.
There is
and they're technically three separate characters.
But they all, if you watch one end to end, it doesn't matter which one finishes, they all lead into whichever film you watch next. It's really bizarre because, of course,
it doesn't really matter.
He rides off into that trope of riding off into the sunset and all that. He does that, and then he rides back from the sunset in every other film. So
you would be hard pressed to figure out which one starts, which one ends, and where the next one should go. The man with no name archetype, he's not the same character in every single film, but he might as well be.
Yeah.
The first one was absolutely brilliant and set it set the bar for everything else that I've actually got on my list. So the guy rides into town, there's an issue, he sorts the issue out, and then he fucks off.
Yeah.
That's it. And it's so simple, but I think you could keep doing that story again and again and again and again. Now, The Mandalorian.
Yes.
Would you say with almost 100% certainty that the way that...
He dresses, he moves, he walks, the gun that he holds...
It's the man with no name.
He's the man with no name.
Yeah. And, I mean, I love The Mandalorian anyway because it's Star Wars, he's a Mandalorian, all of the above. But the second I realised he was walking like Clint, he was holding himself like Clint, he drew his gun like Clint, I thought...
The cape over the shoulder as well. Yeah. He doesn't wear it like any of the other Mandalorians.
He doesn't wear it like Boba Fett. No, he wears it
over his shoulder, 3/4.
Yeah.
He wears it like a poncho, like Clint's poncho. The far-reaching effects of these films can be seen today, and I would, if there's anybody around this table, even Anthony, I would give you, please tell me, do you dislike these series of films?
I'll be honest, I've only seen 2 out of the 3.
Right.
I love Good, the Bad, the Ugly. It was going to be in my top 5.
Okay.
But I changed it last minute for Three Amigos because I thought someone else would have it. So
I did.
But
well, kind of.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah.
But no, I got into these very late because, again, not into it, but having to go for it for college for a project we were doing and stuff like that. So I had to get the Blu-ray box set and then see what all the fuss was about and whatnot. So, but I do like it. I'd say Good, the Bad, the Ugly is my favourite out of the three.
What's very interesting is about A Fistful of Dollars in particular is that Clint is the only English-speaking character in that.
Yes.
Because the rest of it is dubbed. It does not affect the film whatsoever. Okay. Even if they'd had subtitles all the way through, I don't think it would have affected because the direction, the production, the acting is absolutely on point. One of the things that makes it about this trilogy of films is not just Clint himself, but it's the score by Ennio Morricone.
Yeah.
I love this composer.
Yeah.
Can anybody around this table tell me what else he composed?
The Thing.
The Thing. Mm-hmm. Now, I didn't mention this earlier because I completely forgot. Let's just go back over my notes. The Hateful Eight
was scored by him.
Was scored by Ennio Morricone, chosen by Quentin Tarantino because of The Thing.
Or was it for that? I never knew that.
Now, allegedly, and I'm going to keep researching this, but parts of The Hateful Eight were unused scores from The Thing.
Absolutely, yeah.
Now, obviously, Kurt's in that film, and there's links to it. But yeah, I think also chosen because of the spaghetti westerns. This music, I absolutely adore. And as soon as you hear it, well, I've still got it as a ringtone.
Oh, nice.
An optional ringtone. As soon as you hear it, you know exactly what series of films you're talking about. The second film, for a few dollars more, different type of story. It's still a bit of revenge. The man with no name waltzes into town, sorts out the bad guy. There's a scene right at the end that involves a musical pocket watch. Now, this piece of music was so affecting for me because as soon as I heard that, I was like, this is quite haunting. And it made the whole scene. It made the whole film. Hopefully he's listening to this. I have a friend who I've known for 41 years. He's in the music profession, but he's also a teacher. And we realised the correlation between a musical pocket watch, the piece of music, Clubbed to Death by Rob D, and Porcelain by Moby. And we smashed this whole thing together and we called it Clubbed to Death with a musical pocket watch. No, a porcelain pocket watch. It was very interesting, the correlation between pieces of music and as music has evolved. And again, I talk about composers and people who write music. They've got a signature and things that are further down the line have affected other pieces as well. Well, this was one of those things. But yeah, just as a piece of music. But we go into The Good, Bad and the Ugly, and you've got the introduction of Lee Van Cleef as the bad guy, the guy in the black hat.
Played a lot of bad guys, didn't he?
He did. And I think that elevated it above the other two because you've also got the introduction of Eli Wallach as the third wheel. So you've got the man in the black hat versus the man in the white hat, essentially. And then you've got this dirty little Mexican hobo in the middle. Tuco. Yeah. And
I love his character. He's such a snidey bastard.
He's the comic relief, but also you just think, well, this guy's no fool. He will kill you at the drop of a hat. He's absolutely, everything he says he is. And you can't trust him. Right at the end of this film, where they're leaping over tombstones trying to find the tomb, the grave that's got the gold. The cash.
So one knows the location for the graveyard, and one knows the actual tombstone it's under, isn't it? Absolutely, that's why they have to try and work together.
So they can't kill each other just yet. It gets to the very end, and then because of course they open up this grave, and what's in there? Bugger all.
Is he? Yes, you're right. Yeah,
absolutely bugger all.
Yeah,
but I think, this trilogy of films, and I won't go on too much because obviously this is the second list. This trilogy of films, I think without these, you wouldn't have the majority of the modern westerns you have today. It would not have pushed the bar so far. You would not have Tombstone. You would not have films like Unforgiven.
Sure.
The modern 310 to Yuma. You wouldn't have even Bone Tomahawk. You wouldn't have this gritty edge to it if it wasn't for Sergio Leone's spaghetti western.
But wasn't his original these films based on another film that he did years before them? The guy dragging the coffin. Do you remember that bit? No.
I remember the guy dragging the coffin. Yeah,
there's a film with this guy. They reckon this is where the likes of Pale Rider and for a few dollars more and all, and they reckon that this is this character,
right?
Because Sergio Leone did one of his original cowboy western movies. He's got this guy who just. He says very, very little. In fact, I don't even think he talks at all. It's a very long time since I've seen it. And he just walks through the desert. He's not on a horse. He walks through the desert and he's dragging this coffin. And he comes across this woman being whipped. And he saves her. He kills them and he saves her. And then he goes on. And but it's like they reckon this is where the original character originates from. The guy with no name dragging the coffin. He ends up in the town. He helps the town people. They reckon this is where he came from. This is the original character.
Interesting.
and I can't think of the name of the film, but I will have to look it up because it's a film I would like to watch again.
What? So we talked about the Mandalorian being an offshoot of the Clint character. Snake Plissken.
Yes.
Oh,
without Clint, you would not have Snake.
No, this is true.
That's all.
Well, you would, but would it have been played as well? You don't know.
Who knows? Who knows? In another universe, it could have been
remaking it now. So let's find
out.
Are
they?
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
I mean, I'll watch it because it's Escape from New York. But
Yeah.
It's not
going to be ours.
It's never going to be the same.
It's Uncle Kurt.
It's not.
No.
Hang gliding or surfing.
but then
With Peter Fonda.
Is it going to be made for today's audience, which in a sense is fair enough because the originals are our films, so it's nice to see them reinvented, if you know what I mean, because it's keeping the old films alive in a sense, because I'm hoping any youngish people out there that are interested in seeing this as their first vision of it might go and watch the original and see where we're coming from and where this film, without the original they wouldn't be making this. So
heading west.
Oh, come on, here we go.
A western I chose to watch is The Quick and the Dead.
Oh, Sam Raimi at his finest.
Yes, it is. Sharon Stone as the heroine.
Russell Crowe's first Hollywood film, wasn't it?
And she chose him. She asked for him, and
she asked for him.
She paid his wages. Sorry, did I steal in your facts there?
Go for it.
No,
go for it.
Cool. She paid his wages personally.
Really?
Wow.
Yeah. They didn't want to put him on board. She turned around and said, "No, he needs to be part of this." And she paid his wages personally. It didn't come from the film budget; it was out of her pocket.
Bloody hell.
So, so Sharon Stone had a lot of pull on this film.
Yeah, definitely.
She
asked for Raimi, didn't she?
She asked for Raimi, and did pretty much the same for Leonardo DiCaprio.
That's right. Yes.
Let's put this kid in this film.
Yeah, I don't understand why, but carry on.
I know. I apologise on behalf of Sharon Stone for that. I love this film.
Yeah,
I'm
very surprised it was the number one.
I love Sam Raimi. Yeah, so she chose Sam Raimi because she was a big fan of Harmony of the Dead. Yeah. And it was only after watching this film and looking at the little fact texts about it, I actually
you can see part of it in it. Like, it's really weird.
Well, you can, and I didn't know it was a Sam Raimi film, and because you watch it and it's got him written all over it.
Yeah.
Absolutely all over it.
The camera shots, the moving, everything about the moving through it. Her riding a horse, the gunshot she takes.
Yeah, and even when
Russell
you've got
Crowe as well.
You've got a close up on characters' faces, and then there's stuff going on in the background.
Yeah,
It's got that background action. I love that. And when the clock is chiming and they're about to draw, and it just zeroes in on their face. Quicker,
it's typical Sam Raimi close-up, isn't it?
Sam Raimi. So for anybody who hasn't seen The Quick and the Dead, Sharon Stone's Woman with No Name rides into this little town after a very, very, very quick sort of James Bond beginning with Jigsaw. So she's chained this guy to a wagon and naffs off with his hat. But she rides into town. There's a gunslinging, a shooting competition where the best of the West is basically going to shoot it out in a tournament in order to find out who's the best and win this wad of cash that's been put on by Gene Hackman. Evil Gene Hackman, who is not the sheriff.
I forgot he's in
not
this.
The marshal.
I absolutely forgot he was in that.
but he's essentially
the
the
same
Jack
character
Palance, and in Unforgiven, who is taken over this town. This is my town, and I'm going to prove to you why this is my town. He's taking part in the competition as well. Essentially, he wants to prove he's the best.
Yeah.
But who's he proving he's the best to? Well, all of a sudden, Russell Crowe shows up.
Yep.
He's dragged into town. He's a preacher. Is he a preacher with a past? A lot of what I love about this film is because I've seen it in virtually everything else, and I don't give a crap because Sam Raimi and the writers have melded this whole thing all together, and it's absolutely phenomenal. I liked Sharon Stone as an actress, and at the time she'd hit her peak. I think
she was coming off the back of a lot of stuff.
She was.
Some of it good, some of it
not so
terrible.
good. Yeah, but the characters that she plays in this film, I think it's Ellen. I think the character's name is Ellen. It's brilliant. It's absolutely brilliant, and she's the vehicle for what all the other stuff that's going on around this. I think Gene Hackman probably steals the show.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, he hams it up as well.
Yeah, even though he's barely in it.
Unforgiven, like he's quite serious. In this, it almost feels like pantomime.
Oh, he's playing. Yeah, he's playing the pantomime.
He's having fun with it at the same time, isn't he?
He is, but you would not know because he plays it hammy but serious, and he pulls it off. I enjoyed the fact that you had this competition and they were shooting it out, and you had the different type of characters that were coming up, characters that you would see again in other films. Mm-hmm. We'll wind up at the Hateful Eight. We've got these characters in the Hateful Eight.
Yep.
This epitomises everything that I love about the genre, and the fact that it has Sam Raimi, it has Gene Hackman, it's got Sharon Stone putting in a great team. I think I would recommend this to anybody because it just borders.
It's an easy watch as well.
It's a very easy watch.
You don't have to concentrate on anything, and the visuals keep you kind of in the slow moments. Those visuals just kind of hit you in the face and keep you awake.
If there's a well in the centre of the town that Russell Crowe is chained to, because Gene Hackman he's found Russell Crowe. It's one of his old gang. Russell Crowe left his gang. How dare you leave my gang? I'm going to prove to you who the big man is. I'm going to kill you in this gunfighting competition.
Yeah,
Russell Crowe's faster. Yeah. This well in this middle of this town, if it had burst open and a deadite had literally
that'd be fucking awesome.
Do you know, I would not have batted an eyelid because it would have fit.
And it would have just carried on the film, like
absolutely. Or
turning cowboy zombies. That would have
if a steampunk tank had ridden into town and started blowing the shit out of everything.
Skeleton warriors.
I wouldn't have batted an eyelid because I think it's Raimi.
If Harryhausen had just done special effects on the side of it,
it's Raimi that pulls this off, but it just literally it will teeter into the edge of another genre.
Yeah,
that's probably what I like about it the most. But yeah, I would highly recommend The Quick and the Dead to anybody. It's well acted, it's well written, the story's great,
it's entertaining as hell.
It's an entertaining film, and that's why I put it above absolutely everything. It was one of those films that 1995 I was actively seeking out films to watch, and I saw it, and I thought,
it's one that is under the radar for Raimi as well.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, you would not know it was a Raimi film.
Exactly.
Unless you knew his films.
Yes.
But it's Quick and the Dead.
I'm very, very shocked by that. It was an honourable mention from me. No one put it on there. But I nice pick, sir.
Honourable mention.
Do you have an honourable mention as well? Nice.
It's on mine.
Go on in, Mary. On to your number uno.
We're going back with John Wayne again.
Oh, really?
And this one is a John Wayne film towards the end of his career and the end of his life. And it's the one where he got the Oscar, and it's called The Shootist.
Yeah.
He started filming the film before he knew he had terminal cancer. Oh. And he got the Oscar for this film, and there's a great kind of video of him at the Academy Awards. And if you've known John Wayne or seen any of his stuff, he was quite a stocky gentleman, and towards the end of his life, he was quite portly. But actually, at this stage of his life, chemo and everything that was treating him for cancer had taken its toll on him. In the film, he plays almost a stereotype of himself. So Westerns and his way of acting and the film industry itself is now changing. And in the same way that his character in this film is now an aging cowboy. And the only thing he's fit for is no longer being out on the plains, no longer defending small townships, no longer being a hero with a gun. He's just a sideshow. He is now working in almost a circus as a guy that can quick draw and hit the targets and stuff like that, still dressed as a cowboy. Now he's an alcoholic, so in real life, I can't remember what cancer he had exactly. I believe it was down to smoking and stuff like that. But in the film, he has like a pancreatic and or liver cancer, and his little idol that keeps him going and really wants to come and see him and become a cowboy is no other than Ron Howard.
Is it really?
A really young Ron Howard comes to see him and is the guy that idolises the cowboys. And he comes in that stereotypical kind of American poster of a child that's in westerns. If you ever see like Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, the original, M.T.V.B with the cowboy.
Yeah.
He looks like that, but of course he's quite an awkward looking child. He's like Ron Howard because he's ginger. He's kind of got freckles all over his face.
Happy Days,
slightly buck-toothed, slightly gangly. Kind of, his limbs are too big for his body, and he's dressed like a cowboy. And he wants to come and get the autograph of this famous cowboy, which John Wayne plays. And it's the kind of point where cowboys don't have a purpose; they are just a sideshow. Yeah. And at the same time, it's what John Wayne becomes is in real life. Is like. His films are on their way out. Like nobody wants to see these cowboy things, these ensemble kind of films, the war films that he's been doing. He's now a has-been actor, and Hollywood's on the brink of change. But also, this is taking place at the point where cowboys and that sort of lead of life is on the change as well. And the film follows him kind of on his demise right up until the point where kind of he wants to get rid of this fan. He's not really interested in Ron Howard coming to see him. Like, go away, boy. Like, why are you interested in me? What can I put? And it's kind of this. He really does act his arse off in this film.
Right.
And I've said this about The Searchers, but this is where, like I say, The Searchers started, The Shootist finishes. This is him kind of at his peak. He deserves the Academy Award for this film. Like, he is playing that depressed, down and out, I have nothing worthwhile to give this child or anyone else. I am just a sideshow. And by the end of the film, like, he is a hero, but he's realised his kind of worth. And he manages to kind of... He finds a replacement for him in the circus, and then he goes off and dies peacefully, sort of thing. But the film itself just carries on through this. And it's the relationship between John Wayne's kind of character and Ron Howard telling him, no, you're the greatest thing ever. But he's the only fan of John Wayne. There is nobody else that wants to come and see the cowboy that's shooting, quick draw or anything. Everyone else is interested in the pretty ladies that come on and do the dancing routines, or the guy that rides the horses standing up, or all the other kind of circus acts that go with it. And it's just such a heartwarming film, but at the same time a heart-wrenching film, and it shows like a change in both westerns, actors and Hollywood, as well as that time of in history where cowboys just disappeared. They weren't the same people. Like, we fantasize them up with Yellowstone and stuff like that, make them seem a little bit more than potentially they are. But actually, this is where like the heroes, the Billy the Kids, all that. We talked about Wyatt Earp going into Hollywood. This is kind of it. Like, this is the change of them. You no longer are lawmen. You no longer are in a lawless world. Your kind of purpose is gone.
This was their reward in a way.
Yeah, this was it. You could become famous. And he kind of is famous for what he does in this circus, but that's it. And he's now at the end of his life. And I think it's a great, great Western in the fact that John Wayne plays an aged cowboy reaching the end of his existence.
This was his actual last movie.
This was his last film as well.
He was himself an aging cowboy on the last days of his life, sort of thing, wasn't he?
Yeah, and you can see it on like YouTube and places like that. His speech, and he is not the man he once was. The bullish bully that everyone expected him to be in the industry is not. He's like a meek kind of man.
He feels like he's defeated.
And he accepts the Academy Award as this meek kind of, I don't really deserve this kind of humble individual, which you would never have got from any other film other than this particular one. And that's why it's my number one, which is quite depressing when I go through like films. Maybe I should have gone in reverse. I should have ended on Young Guns too, because that would have been happier. But The Shooters is definitely there.
In real life, right? Not long. The same year. I think it was not the same year they'd done the film. I think it was the following year. He died. When he died, they named an airport after him in Santa Ana. Because I went to Newport Beach, which is where he used to live.
Yep.
I didn't know this at the time. We had a guide, and the guide was telling us. And I'm just sort of, when you're talking, I'm thinking, in real life, they named an airport after the guy, and that's how much they thought of him. But it's like you say, he's played cowboys all his life, so it was kind of odd to play this aging cowboy coming to the very end of his life in that film, because it's almost like mimicking or mirroring real life. And like you say, you see a lot of the westerns and the cowboys. Some of them go off into the sunset, and some of them don't. But you never really see that end part.
No, this is the one where it never rides off into the sunset.
It does make you kind of think, shit, actually, hang on a minute, yeah, that's good film.
Also, how would I know this?
Yeah,
John Wayne's stunt double played Jason in Friday the 13th Part 4.
I did know this.
I didn't know.
Did you not know that? I thought you know because you're a Friday the 13th guy. I thought you knew.
I did not know
Ted White, I think his name was.
He was, yes.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, played as Jason in Part
4?
Yeah, Part 4. The final chapter or whatever it was. Yeah.
Not the final chapter.
Which wasn't the final chapter, no.
No, I did not know that.
I thought you did.
Oh, I didn't know that either.
There you go.
Right.
Come on, man.
We can move away from John Wayne now.
Let's move away from John Wayne. Let's try and up the beat a bit. Right, my number one is my number one because it has a giant fucking spider in it. I'm joking. I just wanted to get your reaction on this.
It is Superman, right? Yeah.
we were about to walk out the door. Even if it is.
Could you imagine if I did actually pick that?
Giant spider. He wrote the theme tune.
No, my number one is A Clash with Howard. It's The Hateful Eight. It's my number one. Yeah. I like this movie because, again, not an awful lot happens in it, but it's the fact that it's just dialogue.
Yeah.
The reason I watch Quentin Tarantino is just for dialogue, and he is a master at it. You can't deny whether you like the movies or not. He is a master at dialogue, and it is literally a movie that just talks all the way through. And the reason I kind of like it as well is that apart from the beginning part of the movie, when all these people are locked into a room, it's like The Thing, but a Western version. And you even mentioned, what's his name? The composer?
Ennio Morricone.
Yes, yeah. Obviously does that. The piece of music that he used it from that wasn't in The Thing is the part where they're putting the horses back into the stable. That's when it comes into it. And obviously there's a blizzard, which keeps them locked in. And the thing, another reason why I put this as my number one, it's like watching a play.
Yeah.
Because it's all in one room. You have all these characters doing this one thing, and you all have these different interests and whatnot, but you're also trying to figure out something. Yeah. Spoiler alert, it's nearly 10 years old, bollocks to you. Someone poisons a pot of coffee, and a character dies. I won't say the character dies, but a character dies. And then the rest of the movie is trying to figure out who it was who done it, why they done it. Yeah. And when you figure it out, something else completely happens as well. And I won't go into details much. And again, just watch the movie. Yeah. And I just love how it all just builds up. It's nail biting, it's gripping, it's and it has the the obvious Quentin bits of comedy in it.
It is essentially The Thing. Done as a Western.
Because it's like that paranoia. It's like once that thing happens, it's who can you trust at the end of the day?
Yeah.
And like you said, we've got, even though like Kurt Russell is a hard ass in this, there's a reason for it. I mean, and when something happens, that's exactly why he's like this character. I do believe that, I don't know, again, if you knew this with Hateful Eight, that he smashes one of her guitars.
Yeah, it's a real original Martin.
It's an actual original one, isn't it? And it cost like 120 grand or something, wasn't it?
Martin, and it was probably one of only a few in existence still.
That's it. Yeah. And you didn't
see the look on their faces like that.
Yeah, and it was an actual shot, wasn't it?
Wasn't the stunt guitar, it was...
But going with what Howard said earlier, mirroring what he said earlier, this cast or whatnot, again, Walter Goggins is a side character, but he carries this film. Even though it's meant to be a Samuel L. Jackson movie, I think Walter Goggins takes over. He is a scene stealer in this movie. I cannot wait to see him in the new Fallout TV series that's coming out. Bring it on. I can't wait.
3 days.
Is it 3 days?
3 more days.
Again... I'm not a Tarantino fan. I like some of his movies, but I cannot deny, and you've said it time and time again, his writing and the way that he gets characters to interact and tell a story simply through conversation, and that's all that is happening with this film. It is absolutely brilliant.
And it is a long film. It's 3 hours
That's
long.
about that, yeah.
But a friend of mine, hi Tim, if you're listening, has actually seen the original cut for this. They played the original cut. I believe it's nearly 4 hours long. He said 3 hours 45 minutes, and it actually has an intermission. If you ever see it, there's an actual intermission. It's in two halves. So I'd like to see what else was added because it is. I don't know what else they could have added into that. To be honest,
more talking.
More but this is one of those films that I sometimes have films with just dialogue in the background, like if I'm cooking something and whatnot. This is one I would. Chasing Amy is a big one of them. Just having the background because it's just dialogue. But I just. So like I said, I'm not a big fan of the genre. So I wasn't going in, with high hopes watching this because he did Django. Django's okay. I think it's very overrated between the two of them anyway.
It's a different story.
It's a different story, and it's not the typical revenge thing or anything like that.
Of the old West as well. I would. That's why I said at the very top of this. I didn't want to hate it.
No.
I didn't go in with high expectations. I thought, what the hell is he going to do with it? And that's why I came away pleasantly surprised with the outcome of this film.
Yeah, and like I said, I just love these movies that are taking place in just one room. I watched a movie a few years ago called Death Trap. It's an 80s movie with Michael Caine and Christopher Reeves.
Oh, yeah, I know that.
And it's based on a play, but the way the film is done, it's like if you was watching a play. It's a fantastic film, and I like how Quentin's done this. It's not his typical, let's plot twist this and bring it round and let all these stories connect, whatnot. And I think the ending's great as well. I had to put this in number one. I was like I said, I'm not the biggest fan of Tarantino, but this was for me kind of brought back what I, watching westerns again, to be honest. And I might go back and watch some of the ones that you've recommended as well, because there's a couple I still didn't even know about. Yeah. So yeah, that's why I had to put it at number one.
Amazing.
So there. It was nearly Wild Wild West, I'll give it that. But any honourable mentions?
Yeah.
Go for it.
So the other two John Wayne films that I thought were really cool were The Sons of Katie Elder.
Okay.
And The Cowboys.
Okay.
Both really good. Cowboys takes a misfit of kids and basically they are seeking revenge for the death of the guy that was looking after them. They are just kind of like
revenge story again.
Children, yeah. And they're all misfit kids. That is kind of like I can't remember the old American football kind of films they brought out in the 80s where the kids are kind of crap at the sport.
Yeah.
And it's very much that, but in a John Wayne style. And he's their mentor, which he should never be their mentor. Is
that the one when he throws the kid in the water?
Yes. And the other one, The Sons of Katie Elder, has I've forgotten his name. It's just gone from my head now. Part of the Brat Pack in it, and it's just kind of like again another revenge story.
Yep.
The sons come back to town to go to the funeral of their mother, Katie Elder, and then they discover actually she died under suspicious circumstances, and they start going out on revenge for that. And it's quite a good film. And it's just a different. It's got that ensemble cast of the time as well, and it's just a really enjoyable kind of watch, that one with John Wayne.
Nice.
And I've also got Silverado. I put Quick and the Dead on there, and Back to the Future 3.
Yes,
unashamedly so, because I didn't know where Frisbee came from.
What's it say on his shoes? Nike. How is any on there?
So I compiled a list for my honourable mentions that
lists
that are westerns but not westerns.
Now,
at the very top, I've got the Three Amigos because technically it's a Mexican.
Okay.
I think we talked about it enough earlier. I won't mention any more about the Three Amigos.
Oh, damn it! So it doesn't count then. Right, my number 5.
Recut.
The Three Amigos. What an amazing film!
It is great.
Last Man Standing.
Yes.
Oh fucking hell!
Yes.
Now, Last Man Standing.
Bruce Willis, right?
Is a remake.
Yeah.
Yes, you've mentioned this before, right?
It is, isn't
Fistful of Dollars.
Yeah.
Of course it is.
It's basically a blow-by-blow account of Fistful
Of course
And
it
it's Bruce
is.
Willis with the funny they're not revolvers, are they? He has the
No, they're actually pistols.
they're pistols, aren't they?
Yeah, which for the time period,
8 shots or something. I can't remember.
Like that, But because when you look at it, you think, "Oh, hang on a minute, no,
That's
should
not
they
right.
be revolvers?" No, you did have pistols,
And
at
he
that time.
doesn't dress as a cowboy either. He dresses as a well-to-do gent with a bowler hat and the vest and the jacket and the waistcoat and
But
jacket.
I mean, Bruce Willis is the man with no name. Brilliant. Yeah, I started watching that film. I got it on DVD because I didn't go to cinema to see it. I started watching it. I was like,
It's Walter Hill, isn't it?
Yeah, and brilliant.
It's as close you're going to get to Bruce Willis on a horse. Yeah, because it's a Model T that he drives around, isn't it?
It's a Ford Model T. Yeah, which gets blown to shit. I think
it does.
Desperado.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, we mentioned that, didn't we, on the director's episode?
I fucking love that film.
A Western that's not a Western, Kung Fu Hustle.
Yes.
Fuck, I love that movie. Oh, my God, I love that film.
Everybody that I get to sit and watch it with me goes, this is absolutely awful.
Oh, no, it's amazing.
It's amazing,
It is, and it's a Western that's not a Western. Yep. Speaking of which, No Country for Old Men.
Yes.
Yeah, that is
definitely.
Which
I love that film.
We could talk about probably on another podcast. Logan.
Yes, that is a Western.
It is a Western.
Yeah.
Is a Western.
Not seen it. I know of it.
Yeah, Wolverine, and finally, Rango.
Oh, yeah.
Rango.
Which I always
the Johnny Depp one, right?
Johnny Depp.
Yeah.
At the very, near towards the end when he's trying to find himself and he's out in the desert and then the spirit of the West rocks up on a golf cart and it's Clint Eastwood.
Who is the spirit of the West?
I am the spirit of the West, kid. I think Rango... on the surface of it, a silly little animated film, but absolutely brilliant. Yeah. And especially when the big bad guy, technically, that's being brought in, the Lee Van Cleef type character, is this giant rattlesnake.
Yep.
Who whenever he shakes his tail and he's firing off all of these machine gun type, absolutely brilliant. Nice. That is my Westerns, but not Westerns. List.
I completely forgot about Kung Fu Hustle and Last Man Standing. Good shout, mate.
I had Once Upon a Time in the West. I think we've already mentioned that. Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, Fistful of Dollars. But another one that I thought was quite funny and quite liked was Ballad of Buster Scruggs. Don't know.
That's good. That's quite.
Yeah.
He's not seen it.
I ain't got a clue.
I think that was
not a clue, mate.
It's the only Adam. No, it's not Adam Sandler. It's Adam Sandler director. He's associated with it.
Yeah,
in some way, isn't it? It's a Happy Gilmore production. Well, not Happy Gilmore, but Happy production, isn't it?
Oh, is it one of his Netflix films?
Yeah, I think it was.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah. But he's quite good. It's quite funny. It's quite funny, but the shooting in it is.
It's a minstrel.
It's almost like trick shots.
It's a minstrel going through kind of like the West, singing stories about the West.
Okay,
but actually, he's singing stories about himself being the gunslinger and how he's kind of like. Not hired, but goes around seeking goodness and doing good things, and
right.
I had Tombstone, Wyatt Earp, which already My Name Is Nobody.
No one actually had Wyatt Earp, so good thing you put that on there. No.
Two Mules for Sister Sarah, but that's Clint Eastwood again, isn't it? So that's most of mine have already been said. So yeah.
Right. Well, I'm having Wild Wild West in there. I don't care. Somehow Hyatt gets her ass out in that, so I'm putting it on there.
Yep.
The Wild Bunch, which has one of the best gunfights at the end ever. Apparently, there was like so many. Blank shot. There were more than actually used at the Alamo or something. Or something stupid, ridiculous like that. But and I believe that was going to be like rated X when it first came out. It was going to be because apparently it was too violent at the end or something. Recently, maybe 5 years. Hell or High Water.
Yep.
Chris Pine and Jeff.
I was going to put that on there because there's another Taylor.
There you go. Yeah, I'm quite surprised you didn't put it on there.
And it is a really good cowboy.
It is good.
It's a robbery
Ben Foster's
film.
awesome in that. Yeah,
robbery film without being a robbery film.
Right? Yeah, it's brilliant.
It's so good.
Dancing with Wolves.
Yes,
I couldn't put it on there because it was too long, and the coffee grinding scene just grinds my gears.
Yeah,
it not really grinds my gears. And one last comedy I had to throw in there, Blazing Saddles.
Yeah, of course.
Do you know what? At the top, when you said it's going to be a comedy, I thought, he's going to say Blazing.
That's what I thought.
No, I thought I might get cancelled if I put that in the top 5. So we'll honourable mention it at least anyway.
Okay, yeah.
But that's it, guys.
Damn good films there, actually.
Yep.
Enjoyed that. It was a good list.
Nothing else on that then? If not, we'll come to the end then.
Yeah.
Let's finish it there then, guys. If you like what we're listening to, follow us on Facebook at the M.T.V.B Podcast, on Instagram at M.T.V.B Podcast, or on TikTok at M.T.V.B Podcast 197. I be the Antman, joined by
JK47.
H the man with 2 lists.
And Super Mario.
Thank you for listening, guys. Good night.